Right, good evening, everybody, and I hope that you all, well, what am I saying? This is the letter. No one heard that but me, probably, at the beginning of the stream, but I have changed the music for December as a stream intro. I thought I'd go for a bit of Rise of the Triad, you know, the most festive song that they had. Truth be told, this song was stuck in my head for a while as a festive choice. The actual choice I'd like to have picked, I can't because it's an actual song, so DMCA, but I thought Rise of the Triad, festive music, why not? It fits the channel, being that I'm playing an FPS game. So anyway, welcome back to part 8 of my visual novel playthrough, The Letter. Well, hopefully tonight I will be quite close to finishing this off, to be honest, but we'll see. So last time, continuing the perspective of Ashton Frey, the detective, let's see, what happened? Oh yes, we got to witness the other end of the line when Rebecca was killed in the library on the roof, which led us all to despair quite a bit and take refuge in a pub where we decided to wallow for a bit, not knowing how to deal with the ghost. Also had an encounter with her in the closet of Isabel's apartment. And then Ashton decided to go to the mansion by himself and deal with it. But then he was confronted by, well, in the attic, he was being gagged and probably killed by the butler, Johannes. Luke Wright's butler, turns out, has a murderous streak. Or a weird sense of humour. In any event, he basically tried to gag us and possibly kill us. But we were saved by Isabella using a taser and a rolling pin to knock him out. And then afterwards, Ashton confessed his love to Isabella. And Isabella said, family first, motherfucker. So, no dice. So, we're still in the mansion. This is the kind of game where you have a spooky near-death encounter and have 20 minutes of romance, apparently. So we're still in the mansion and we're still trying to figure out a way to defeat the curse. Things are going to get interesting. Power still hasn't come back when we make our way downstairs. Tricky considering the stairs to the attic are a bit old. Oh yeah, there's also an underground passage hidden beneath the mansion somewhere. But, yeah. One misstep and anyone might end up slipping and falling. You're lucky if that's all that'll happen to you. With the stairs this steep, a broken neck is a likely outcome. Thankfully, Isabella's here to guide me through the darkness. She knows this place better than anyone, after all, in spite of all the misfortunes it's brought to us.
Careful, the floorboards over there aren't very sturdy.
Right on cue, the same board I'm stepping on creaks and suddenly breaks. The piece is falling somewhere with a dull thunk.
Oh shit. Scumbag wouldn't be too happy about that. Ow, foot.
See? I told you so. You never listen to me.
They renovated the whole mansion. They can't even replace one tiny part of the house.
Why don't you file a complaint to BRC then? I'm sure they'd be thrilled to hear it. You know it was such a rushed job.
Outside, the winds have intensified. Even from here, I can hear the gusts battering the window in the attic. It makes me wonder why up until now, the only person we've encountered from this house is the butler. Although to some degree that makes sense. He is in charge of running the place. Where are the other servants though? In this storm, don't anyone want to stay inside? A likely assumption is they're all asleep. The route I've taken doesn't really pass by the rooms they've likely assigned as the servants' quarters. However, they have also heightened security. I brushed it off earlier thinking they'll be posted a lot closer to where the master's rooms are, but the second floor is devoid of anyone as well. As if every inhabitant of this place has suddenly disappeared overnight. More importantly, where's that scumbag? I don't like this. I don't like this at all. The fact that we're here right in the fucking middle of it makes me all the more queasy. And that feeling only escalates once we reach the landing and Isabella swings the door open. She pauses abruptly right in the doorway that I almost run into her. A look of confusion's in her. She looks wildly around the place, wordlessly taking in her surroundings. With each turn and shift of her eyes, her shoulder only grow tenser and a look of apprehension slowly dawns on her.
Isabella, what are you...
We aren't supposed to be here.
Yeah. Sure enough, when I woke up, we're standing right in the kitchen, pots, pans and all. In one corner, Zack watches us almost as surprised to see us. Relieved as I am that he had the sense to wait and not venture deeper into the mansion, I can't help but roll my eyes at him.
Zack, I said 4 hours.
I know, but Isabella asked and... Come on, bro, you know I ain't a very good liar.
And it didn't even occur to you to stop her?
I tried, all right? Even G, she was out the door before I could say anything.
And how did you guys even get in here?
A good question. Both of them exchange a look, not one I absolutely don't like. In the end, it's Isabella who speaks up, albeit with a bit of hesitation.
We heard someone scream, Ash. It led us here.
Without warning, the door behind us slammed shut.
We need to get out of here.
Screw right. I need to get these people out of here. Lucky we're in the kitchen. We have 2 ways out. The back door and the cellar office. Except the hatch won't budge when I pull at it, and neither does the back door, as if something has locked it firmly on the other side. Zack also gives it a few tries, but even with the big guy's strength, it won't open. There's a long bout of silence in which we all simply look at each other like we're sharing the same thoughts. We're trapped. Something or someone has intentionally led us here. Fuck. In that same moment, once realization dawns in, something shifts again. Blood. In every nook and cranny, over every surface and in every inch of the floor. This time, unlike the first one I've seen, it remains, and gradually the whole room begins to reek of that familiar metallic scent. Sharp, suffocating. Around us, every object, including the covers, has started to rattle as well. The sounds from outside, foreboding rumble of thunder, and even the howling winds have begun to fade away, replaced by whispers, shouts, and cries of pain. Though inaudible, each beat and each note bombards every crevice in my head with vague images and sounds. There's no time to make sense of everything, however. I'm already shouting, fueled purely by adrenaline, barking orders and making a break for the door that leads to the next room, the dining. It should take us straight to the foyer where the main door
Move!
is.
Run!
Right in front of us, the mansion has started to change and we're in the thick of it. However, instead of the dining room, like it's supposed to open to, the bedroom welcomes us instead. Oh. Okay, so the mansion can shift around its locations, can it? An image that lasts but only a second before blood begins to seep into the room, filtering into the walls, trickling from every nook and cranny. Everywhere, furniture shakes and every beam rattles. Before we can even step back from the horror gradually unfolding in front of us, the door slams shut, a loud thud bringing a sense of dread and chill creeping up in each of us. Along with it is another realization: the whole place is reordering itself. And with the door closed tight behind us, showing no signs of budging, even through sheer force, there's no choice but to go forward and hope to all gods that it will lead us to an exit. Until then, running's the only thing we can do, spurred by nothing but fear and a sense of desperation to live.
It's useless, Ashton Frey.
But with each room we pass, it only becomes apparent that the house has no intention of letting us leave. It lured all of us here and we've fallen for it. Now it's playing a little game with us, a sordid form of amusement. For whom? Their laughters are the only thing we can hear. With every hall we cross and door we slide open, we hope of finding an exit merely dwindles. The gun at my hip is useless here. I am useless here. Some fucking genius I am. Some fucking person to trust I am. What are they, stuck in the back rooms? Manor edition? All of those? They mean nothing in the face of the unknown.
You finally figured it out. Huh, Ashton Frey?
One of those voices sounds a bit like the Doom 2016 and Eternal voice. You finally figured out, Doom Slayer.
Just give it up.
Rip and tear the pages until it is done. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Please speak up.
And you are going to die alone.
Shut your fucking mouth.
You know it's true, though.
All of it. It's why all you can do is tell us to shut up. You don't want to hear a single word, because you're already aware of it. You can't even admit it to yourself. Who's the coward now?
But no matter how hard you try, you're not gonna be able to save anyone.
The more gruesome the place turns, the bleaker our chances simply get. Wails and screams fill our ears as we pass by, words from a time and people long gone, laced with nothing but pure agony, calling out, reaching out to us. Their voice is almost too real as if we're not the only ones trapped here, but there are others begging for release from this wretched place. Or maybe it's all just a show, a taste of what we will eventually be, souls forever held captive in a never-ending nightmare.
Mother. I've done it, Mother. Take me with you, please. I still hear her. She's here. Help me! Help me, please!
Is this what the curse is, what it means for all of us? That the letter not a morbid cry for help but an invitation? A beckoning for unsuspecting souls to be dragged into this place's horrors? To be put under centuries and centuries of torment and agony? Suddenly dying a painful death seems preferable, enticing than ending up here, living a tortured existence. Or perhaps it's all the same. Still, hope worms its way into me, not a usual thing for someone like me. But after going through countless doors and corridors, every little sign of hope I'm going to cling to, as long as it'll get us out of here. We're back in the dining room again. How long have we been running? How long since we've left the kitchen? At some point I've lost track of time, with the windows barred tight and the sounds lifting in the air, nothing but shouts and shrieks. It's impossible to tell. Not when it matters when an end is in sight. Cells and furnishings bar the door, each stained with blood and gore. If the situation isn't as desperate as it is, I'll find a different way out. But there's still a gap left at the topmost part for a person to go through, as long as you use the shelves to climb.
It's an exit, all right.
From here I can spy the familiar walls of the foyer. Relief. Only relief washes over me. Although my legs have been strained taut by all that running and every bone and muscle in my body ache, there's only an easing. A sense of tension relieving while energy flows through me again. At the sight of an end. So no sooner am I leaning us out of it. Zach helps Isabella up first, assisting her up and through the gap. The moment the she has makes it through, I nod for him to go.
Go ahead. I'll watch your back.
Surprisingly, he does that without any protest, not that there's any need to. Sometime after entering this room, the whole place has calmed down. No wails, no whispers, just a silence too deafening. But I'm not laying my guard down until everyone's on the other side of this nightmare, safe. For all I know, this may just be a calm before another storm. Without further incident, however, Zach makes it to the other side and I'm following after him. However odd this hush is, I turn my back from it and climb up. It's a tight fit, but I manage to squeeze myself in. The unease remains, though. Maybe it's the adrenaline still coursing through me, or how easy everything has been after living through that nightmare, fleeting as it is. But for some reason, something's still nagging at me. Call it a detective's instinct or my training or whatnot. I have a feeling something's going to happen and catch us unprepared. Unconsciously, before dropping down on the better side of this dream, my hand shifts to the gun at my hip. Instinct has never failed me before. My feet haven't even landed firmly on the floor when...
Had I known there would be a party in my own home tonight, I would have opened a bloody bottle or two. People these days, in my own home, can you believe it? I feel so left out.
A chill seeps into every vein in my body. All of a sudden, every ache, every pain returns to me tenfold, and my knees threaten to buckle at the sound of his voice. Though it appears friendly, I know it is anything but. One does not spend investigating a man like him for over a year and holding a grudge against him for more without knowing everything about him. His quirks, his habits, I'm familiar with all of them. And right now, Luke fucking Wright is beyond pissed. Shifting my gaze upwards is nearly too painful, knowing the danger. Not to me, but to those who have been lured in here by the curse. The handgun catches my eyes first, next to that smarmy smile on his face when I hold Zack and Isabella at gunpoint. It's sight enough to lodge a painful thorn up my throat. I've been too complacent, too focused on other things that I completely set aside the fact that the scumbag will not be too pleased to see us here without knowing our reasons. But even with those, good intentions, curses, and ghostly apparitions aside, we're still trespassing in his home. The question is if he's even aware that the whole of his household has somehow disappeared and he might be only one here. Likely not. Fuck. Even with people he knows among the crowd, there's never an effort in him not to simply shoot everyone in sight.
And really, Lily, even you?
Sir, this isn't what you're thinking. Something's going on in this mansion.
Well, obviously, why else would people be trespassing in my home? What's your excuse? Checking back if your clients are doing okay? Is that it? Is this what this is? Oh, we're doing good, by the way.
Sir, please.
A place what?
We need to get out of this place. You need to leave.
Tut, not a good enough excuse, darling. You people are the ones who need to get out of my sight.
Don't worry, I always consider pressing lighter charges if it's a woman I have to deal with in court.
Can't say the same for the rest of you. But really now, I swear the people of this city need to be taught the meaning of privacy. This is how you want to start the week. Why don't we just go with a bloody massacre if we want to surprise people in their homes, huh?
Casually, he waves the handgun at them as if it's just a mere toy and his words are no threat. The safety's off on his. Nothing stopping him from pushing through with his words. Call me paranoid, but at the slight gesture, I draw my own and level it at him. Finger on the trigger and ready to release the safety catch in case things go south. He is quick to train his own on me, though, and just like that, we're at a standstill.
Now, Feathers. Manners. You're in no position to be pointing that gun at people.
Why don't you put yours down first, and then we'll talk about manners.
Oh, he talks back. The gall! You know, your kind pisses me off so much.
Shooting him right now will be so worth it with the way he stares at me like I'm a damn pest, but this isn't what I've come here for. I'm not a murderer. As much as I loathe him, I'm not the kind who will kill people in cold blood for my own gain or amusement. The law will bring him what he deserves one of these days. At the moment, however, we're all in the same boat with this curse, and he needs to understand that. The longer we stand here, the more time we're wasting and losing, something we don't have much of. But how can I convince him? This scum is so full of himself, prefers to hear the sound of his own voice more than those of the people around him, no matter how much sense they make. Probably the only way I can make him listen is if I beg. No way in hell that's happening. Maybe I should eliminate the immediate danger first and disarm him? Okay. Disarm him will probably lead to him shooting his gun. My wife's not the only one at risk here, however. There's Zach. There's Isabella. We're all unknowing victims to this fucking curse. I'm in no position to pick who to save and who I should simply let die. I suppose my pride can take a few hits and I can set aside my beef with this asshole. Taking a deep breath, slowly, I lower my pistol. So still on the edge and at ready, in case he does something, I do my best to assume a less aggressive stance.
Listen, right. I need you to...
You broke into my house, and somehow, you expect me to listen like a good little boy. Are you a bit touched in the head, Feathers? I'm not the one breaking laws here.
Look here, fucker. If I wanted you dead, I could have done it so many times already. In fact, I can easily shoot you down right here, right now. And you won't be able to do a damn thing, even with that gun.
Suddenly he laughs, almost howling. In fact, just like I just told him the best joke he's heard all his life. The only thing missing is for him to kneel over and start rolling around the floor. All while I do my best not to suck him with the side end of my pistol.
You have guts, Feathers. You have guts. Did you hear what you just told me? You've just threatened me inside my own house. My own home. You know what I'm thinking right now? In another lifetime, we would have probably gotten along well.
He's right on that, at least. I might have ended up Wyking if I didn't have Professor Andrew, Rebecca, Zach, and Isabella. One mistake and it would have been too late for me. With his laughter rings all of those possibilities I could have lived, but I've never been given the choice. All because I have other people with me, people who care. A sobering realization. But not so much when suddenly his chuckling stops. In 2 heartbeats he marches towards me, grabs my collar, and aims his gun right at my head.
Hey, now you two, I'm sure we can all talk about this first.
At this distance, a slight flick of that finger on the trigger will be able to do more than kill me.
What is it that you people really want with me? This is the second time this week, and I'm really getting weary of this little game. Did the NCA send you to apprehend me, or has somebody paid you off to kill me? Which one is it, Feathers? Mind you, my arm's getting tired. Better answer quick if you don't want to beat the business end of this gun.
Is he referring to the intrusion at the ballroom or something else there? When he says it is the second time, I wonder. I keep my eyes trained on him in spite of the huge threat he poses right now, because if there's anything people like him, like us, prefer, it's honesty. You don't give that impression without keeping a solid eye contact.
I'm not with NCA. I'm just here to help. There's something else in this house, and we're all in danger. You have to believe me, right? You need to let us go. You need to get out of here before it's too late. If you want to keep your sorry ass alive, you'll listen to people with more brain cells than you.
Why, you insolent!
His finger moves, but I am prepared, my hand ready to reach up, disarm him, and knock him out. If I have to drag him out of his place unconscious to keep him from suffering the fate of every other person who has died from this curse, so be it. However, before either of us can fire a shot or tackle the other to the ground, another voice echoes throughout the foyer. A small little thing compared to the storm raging outside. It rings above it nevertheless, causing all of us to stop and turn. Oh, at the top of the staircase, Hannah Wright stands there, pale as death and expression eerily calm. I can't help but think there's something wrong. My gaze darts around, wary of her, but soon enough I realise what's wrong when she speaks. She's wrong.
Oh, Luke, darling, my love. What do you think you're doing out here this late?
Outside, another streak of lightning flashes and a clap of thunder ripples across the sky, as if this whole thing can't get any more foobar than it already is. Fucked up beyond all recognition. Oh! And that ends Ashton's perspective? Hannah Wright appearing on the top of the staircase? Well then. If I'd known that, I'd have carried on for another 20 minutes the other night. Hell of a time to cut back, huh? Okay, well, that's the cliffhanger for us. So, yeah, we are finally playing as the final perspective. Wow, he has a very low relationship with Hannah at the moment. We are playing as Luke fucking Wright. The final perspective of the game is finally unlocked. So let's see what his deal is, shall we? Lucille Mitchell Luke Wright. 31 years old, 5'8", president and CEO. He was British. He was an atheist, raised Anglican, a high school dropout and privately tutored. He likes bread pudding, dogs, wine and absinthe, piano playing, daffodils, money, women and power. A prostitute's son. He spent his childhood roaming the streets begging or pickpocketing in order to avoid home. Home meant a too drunk mother and an equally drunk clients, some of whom would take to beating the child out of anger if he so much as looked at them wrong. That meant he was always in trouble in one form or another. Nothing was done to correct it until, in a sober moment, his mother found out about the abuse and promised to take better care of her son. Luke was happy for a while, but his mother's bad habits led to an early grave and left an orphan until his biological father, a businessman with no legitimate heir, sought him out. He was trained to inherit Wright Enterprise, but along the way got mixed up with illegal activities. That put the company in a bad spot after his assistant ran off with a large sum of dirty money. Bankruptcy would have been inevitable if he hadn't married Hannah. Wow. Had a tough wife, apparently. Definitely more to the man than it seems. But this is it. I think this is the final perspective. I'm assuming, unless we're going to switch back between different characters at this point, but I don't think we will be. If we're going off the how long to beat, we're at the 22-hour mark. I assume after we go through this, that'll be it. An ending will happen, but we'll see. Another long and exhausting day at work, and I have still much to do. Sometimes I wonder why I still bother. I can surely afford to retire, leave the businesses to trusted colleagues. Even if they make enough to only break even, I have enough money to last us a lifetime or three. I could send 7 children to college if I had any, not that I plan to. But the problem is obvious, isn't it? I don't trust any of the lot. It has to be me because they might get it wrong. I don't want to retire and suddenly wake up one day only to find out that everything has gone down the shitter. Maybe I should hire McCulloch as a personal assistant. She seems capable and trustworthy enough. It's hard to find someone who isn't trying to butter me up and trying to curry favour with me.
Christ, I'm knackered. Who do I have to kill to have fewer problems around here?
I'm not really allowed to complain. I chose this path. But that doesn't stop me from doing so as I throw my shoes off and let them whine wherever they please. Petty maybe, but there's a certain joy that comes with stepping on the carpeted staircase with nothing but my socks on. I'll accept no distractions. Alright, this is October 29th. So this is where they already settled into the mansion. terms of the timeline, this would be when... Well, this is the day when his wife would find the pendant. The day after the ballroom. So, yeah. This is pretty close to where we just were, like, by a few days back. I'll upset no distractions. I can call up Shrocken for a sandwich, but that's probably it. I've got a suitcase filled with contracts to check over and sign before I can retire for the night. I'm also waiting for a call from Suarez for any new updates regarding the IT leaks, a real cause of concern. It's the reason there have been investigations on me. Had it been a new thing, I would have let it run its course, but it's been going on for far too long, near 3 years, for me to just take on a passive role in the affair. I've only kept my head this far because I've managed to mitigate most of the damage with several favours, and some grand profiteer to ensure the high-profile law enforcement and government officials keep me out of trouble. But who knows how long it can stay that way? Powers are shifting and the current can be unpredictable. This whole exit business is already shaking things up and upsetting the balance. It's only with great care that I stay where I am, but the smallest of efforts can unravel all that I've done. It certainly won't help if I'm being accused of things, whether I'm guilty of them or not, because some computer chump thinks he can play a game with me. And well, shit, it'll be a miracle if I get to sleep tonight, provides horribly surprising news. But before I can even take a step into the study, a voice from the bedroom calls out to me.
Luke, darling, you're finally home. Why don't you be a dear and come in here?
I hesitate for a moment. I do have work to be done, but I suppose greeting my wife as I get home is only proper. I've already been gone for most of the week unless I need to be here for work on the house. So with a sigh, I head towards the bedroom. Oh my. The feelings that came to me as I entered the room are definitely mixed. For one, I am somewhat floored by the sight that greets me. Then there is confusion. Exasperation is strangely there as well. And, as to be expected, there is desire. She is a divine goddess, or rather, she is a horrible temptress. What man wouldn't be attracted by that? I guess it could be a sausage jockey. But that is beside the point and is not relevant to the situation I found myself in right now. This is nice and all, but why does she have to go and do this now of all nights?
My love, the bed is awfully cold without you.
Achievement unlocked, Swatty Hannah? Charming game. The matter of the fact is, I've never seen Hannah all primped up like this since our first year of marriage. Hey Zordon, you join at an interesting time. We have concluded Ash's perspective and are now playing as Luke, the final character's perspective of the game. And this is where he got into his bedroom to see the posh Hannah looking like this. There must be something special to bring on such an act. Our wedding anniversary has already passed, so that can't be it. Hannah's birthday is in April and mine is in August, so it can't be any of those either. So what in bloody blazes brought this on? Is Hannah drunk?
Why don't you just, take a rest? I'll be busy all night.
Is that answer too cold? I don't mean it to be. She said doesn't look amused.
Come on over and stop being a boring old man. Work can wait.
Maybe I can entertain her just for a while. It is a tempting idea, but no, I'll never get any work done that way. I imagine how horrible it would be to get a call from Suarez in the middle of a shag. That would certainly kill the mood and piss me off more than anything. It'll be even worse if Kylie steals the phone from him, as the little ankle biter is prone to do unless her father's locked in the room. Just thinking about the possibility is weird and turns me off from even trying anything.
I'm afraid it can't, Buttercup. But hey, it's Sunday tomorrow. We can go out for dinner right after. Somewhere nice like that Italian restaurant you wanted to try out?
Why don't we skip dinner tomorrow and eat out tonight?
Wow. Well...
Whoa there, why don't we slow down? Looks like someone is in the mood, but hey, there's a time and place for everything.
I grew up in a house where sex was a constant thing. It's just a thing that the body does, more or less. Sometimes it comes with social implications, supposedly, with paper-thin walls and a mother with that horrid job of hers that made me think that way. But I learned later on that it isn't the case for everybody. Suffice to say, this is really odd. For her, at least. I am quite sure she never grew up in a sexually promiscuous home like I did. She grew up in a well-to-do, normal and decent family. And in the 7 years we've been married, she's never acted this aggressive about sex. We do it when the mood comes to that, but never like this. And when I'm in the mood and she isn't, so that's about the time I go around town to have my back scratched. I've got nothing to be guilty of, I believe, as long as it's just lust and not love. That's a good way to explain it, I guess. I'm just really confused and trying to come to grips with reality as it is presented to me.
Well, this is the place, but now is not a good time, darling. Like I said, I have plenty of important work to be done. Any other night, this would be great. Excellent, splendid. But not right now, okay?
I suppose if that's what you want, I can have my prince another time.
A chill runs out my spine as she calls me that again. My prince. Is she going through some midlife crisis? I know she's not the sort to play pretend with that sort of thing. Now that I think about it, this is probably some dream. Perhaps I've been exposed to something? Jesus, I've gone and fucked my own brain over. That can only be the only explanation, or at least the only explanation my mind wants to accept right now. But if it were, I should probably accept her offer now. But on the off chance it isn't, I shouldn't. Either choice fucked someone over, quite literally at that.
Yes, that's right. Another time. So if you could put your dress back on. It's really chilly right now, isn't it? You don't want to catch a cold if we're going out tomorrow.
Wow. Thankfully, she's done as she's told, which puts this strange episode to an abrupt end. Ah, that might have been hard to resist, but he did it. Unfortunately, she had to put her dress back on so painfully and seductively slow. I suspect she knows the things she does to me. As much as I'd like to have the engine running, there are things to be done to make sure we can keep on enjoying a glamorous life as we do now. So, how's your evening been, Zordon? Has Thursday treated you well? I've had a flu jab earlier. I'm hoping not to get any side effects for the
I'm
next few days.
starting to think you don't find me beautiful anymore.
Hell no, that was awesome.
Is that what brought this on then?
But he is correct. It's out of character for her, and she's possessed. So he suspects something before, he knows more.
You are an angel, a goddess, Hana. Of all the flowers in this garden, you are by far the most beautiful and rarest of them all. Every bloke would want to be with you, and every lady would want to be you. I'm sure it goes the other way around too. I'm lucky to have you, and I don't know how you put up with the likes of me. I'm really sorry, darling, but it really isn't a good time.
I don't quite think little Luke is up for some fun yet. Just yet either. Not after the blow he had been dealt by a violent ginger harpy. It does hurt me to see her upset because of something I've done or said. It always does. One can't always get his or her way though. At least society would like you to believe in order, to soften the blow of disappointment. Poor little Luke. And I'll have to take their side on that just this once. Pulling her in for a hug and a peck of her cheek, I'm quick to pull away before I change my mind and make it more than that. I can at least give her those.
Chin up and smile. You'll get wrinkles frowning like that. And beauty sleep helps.
Of course, my prince. I suppose I can do with the sleep.
The smile that lights up on her face is enough to make me forget about reality that has just transpired. I still don't understand this whole prince thing, though I'll let it slide for now. Seeing her with her golden locks and that silver dress, it almost makes her queenly. With due respect to her majesty, of course. Despite that, there's just something off.
Hana, before I go, what happened to your necklace? The blue diamond.
The fact that she seems confused feels off.
Whatever do you mean? Oh, that old thing. It's somewhere in the vanity drawer, I think.
Yeah, she's wearing the pendant that she got from the attic that one time after she became, well, possessed. So he's noticed that too, unsurprisingly, because she never takes it off. And to be so aloof about it.
But wasn't that from your father?
It was a priceless heirloom, to be exact. Handed down from one generation of Evans to the next, whether it be a wife or a daughter of an Evans. I know that Hannah treasured it so, especially after it was given to her with her own mother's passing. Then what is that ugly thing dangling around her neck? It looks more like a choking hazard than anything.
It was, of course it was. I just thought a change would be nice.
I don't think I've seen her wear anything else in its place. A change it is, but not an entirely welcome one at that.
I see. I suppose that makes sense. Well, not that it matters, but I like the old necklace better. At the very least, we can have it cleaned and polished while you're not wearing it. Remind me to have that done in the morning.
Whatever you wish, my prince.
Right. You have a good night then, Buttercup.
With a shake of my head, I don't waste any more time than I've done already. Heavy suitcase in hand, I head straight into the study and dive right into the contracts. There's a whole stack of them too, mostly to do with property management. Nonetheless, careful work needs to be put into them as with everything else. My attorneys have already checked them over, but I like to be precise. I'm not going to sign if there's even a single line I do not like. It's a long way into the night when a coldness envelops the room. I suspect at first that it's merely just the usual chill, but the heaters have been turned on as the strange sunny weather that's been gracing us of late has come to an end. The door is barely open just by a crack, but I shut it in case that might help. Satisfied, though not as much as I'd have liked, the room still feels freezing. I make my way back to the mess of documents waiting for me at the table. Just a few more and I can get that well-deserved rest, get out of this place and dive into warm comforts of my bed. Then maybe, if Hannah's still up for it. Well, it's more than enough motivation. Parking my rear back on the chair, I begin my work on the last of the blasted papers, more than ready to be done with everything and turn in for the night, only for another chill to startle me to a stop. And that's when I feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. Eyes boring at the back of my head, a brush of air just at the nape, and when I glance back, reflected in the lone portrait in the room, someone stands behind me, just by the study door I closed a moment ago, though I did not hear it open. Perhaps it is Hannah trying to be sneaky, or shocking being a bell end of a spook as usual. That was the name of his butler then.
Do I really have to ask people to knock before they enter? Seriously now, this is anarchy, and I'll have you know...
I turn, but there's nothing.
Must have been a trick of the light.
It is getting late, and I should really go to bed myself. Just have to finish looking over a few more contracts, and...
Yes, just finish signing these and I can have some rest. Maybe arrange for a day off in the morning. Sighing, I steel myself for a long night of dry paperwork. Still, the feeling I'm being watched stays with me all through the night. And then it's October the 30th. And with the sun rising comes another disturbance. Both too loud and too sharp for my taste, and I have very fine tastes. When the piercing rings of a doorbell reaches even the study, I'm very much inclined to think the person who built this place lacks any sense of it. Perhaps the only thing good in this is that the ruckus has changed away the needling guilt from last night's commotion, if only temporarily. Still, it's a bloody annoying distraction. I think this is where we meet Zach, isn't it? I can tell already that it's going to be a long day. It hasn't even started. Before the racket even lasts another minute, I'm peeling myself off the chair and heading straight for the main door. There will be a murder today if this doesn't let up. How quaint. It seems everything in this blasted universe is intent on getting on my nerves as of late.
Gordon Bennett! Only a Nancy would knock at such an ungodly hour!
In the first place, I shouldn't be the one doing this. This is why I hired a valet, for fuck's sake.
Where's that damn butler when I need him?
I'll be honest, if only for today, with the mansion this quiet at this hour of the morning, it's easy to believe those little ghost stories might be real. But the only horror here is how odd my own wife has been acting as of late. There's no place for fear when another set of problems already burns that fuel. So I wait for another second. When no butler answers my call, I simply yank the doors open myself, perhaps with more force than needed. And maybe it should be appropriately there, considering the person on the other side and the hour he dared appear on my doorstep. Even someone with half a brain knows not to disturb anyone this early. Brief confusion quickly gives way to anger, and before the bloody photographer can even get a word in, I'm hurling venom at him. It's worse than he deserves, really. Hannah will disapprove, scold me for treating the photographer with such disrespect, if she hears me right now. She seems fond of him after all, despite meeting him only once or twice. He's merely doing his job, she'll say. But she's not here, isn't she? Well, she doesn't know.
You? How the hell did you get in here? What in seven hells do you want? It's bloody 6 in the morning!
Listen, sir, I know this is not a good time.
Minga? He calls him Minga. Oh, God. Okay.
Oh, it's not a good time. Did you even check the clock before coming here? I bet you didn't.
This is still my home. My rules also apply to this place as much as Hannah's do. As simple as that.
Unlike you, the ones living in this house need to sleep.
It just so happens it's also a person I will never take a liking to. No need for remorse.
Come back when people are actually awake, or I'll call security on you.
He continues shouting yes, and I slammed the door in his face. There's some nonsense about the news lately, but I don't understand most of it. However, with the closed doors muffling the better part of it and with no ears to listen, his tirade doesn't last too long. Eventually he leaves and silence once again fills the room, as it should. In hindsight, maybe I should also call for psychiatric services. He certainly sounds mental just screaming like that. A suspicious man like him left roaming the immediate grounds? Nothing good can come of it. But if his presence will indeed bring a problem, a sign of bad things to come, I'll probably know soon enough. Worst comes to worst, Shrocken will take care of it, if need be. It's what I'm paying him for. In the meantime, I need rest, even if it's just a few hours. My lovely wife still fast asleep when I finally join her in our bed. As odd as she's been acting lately, her company's nice after spending long grueling hours going through business documents. And again, it's not like I'd be losing out much if I take a break or two. In fact, all I have to do is say the word and Vance General Electronics stocks are going to go down. That's the least I can do after Rochelle Vance's outburst during the party. I highly doubt she will be Rochelle Lee for long, not if Harvey has any sense in him. So with a sigh, I drift off, saying my asides by poems only for a few hours. Waking up to find my bed empty hours later is a strange sensation. Not to speak ill of Hannah, but I've always woken up first, even in the early years of our marriage. Mostly because I've always been accustomed to doing so. As a child, I woke up early to escape the house before one of Mother's scheduled day clients came in. Later on, it was to assist with breakfast and to prepare for school. I just kept with me through the years for one reason or another. If there was no reason to wake up at 6 in the morning, my mind would always find reason to. To work, to nurse a terrible hangover, to make sure I was the only one leaving the bed first, just because, and not the other way round. Checking the time on my phone shows it's already 8:30. What can I do about it? Getting up is an entirely different problem on its own. Waking up after getting only a few hours of sleep in, my body stiff and sore and my mind feeling lethargic. A part of me wants to go back and doze off again, an alien feeling to me, but it's already far too late for my tastes. All I can manage is to sit before there's a knock on the door.
Yes, come in. I'm decent. I don't see why you have to knock.
Even if I was only in my knickers, there's only 2 others inside the house aside from myself. I've arranged for the staff to have the Sunday off, well, if it's so close to a holiday anyway, so I can have some peace and privacy. The security outside the house doesn't count, of course. There's no need for Hannah to knock, so I expect to see the butler and ready myself for approach. To see that it is Hannah is odd. Not a cause for concern. Most likely she too found it strange to see me still sleeping and let me indulge. Yet there is something off. I just can't put a finger on what it is. Whatever it is, it can wait. Besides, when there are strange things, it is better to wait them out, as they often become apparent with time. Not that I should complain when she greets me with a sunny smile on her face and a tray of food.
Oh, good morning, dear. It looks like I overslept, huh? I haven't had that pleasure in a long while.
You should really indulge in it a bit more, my prince. I hope you do not mind, but I made breakfast for you.
I've been expecting her to tell me that she brought the meal up in order to eat together. Not that she made it, for in all our marriage Hannah has never cooked once. Though I can hardly find it in me to question her efforts unless she was trying to poison me. Thirsty for it. But she carries with her a platter of pies. Delicious looking round pockets of goodness. I have no second thoughts in fishing one off the plate with a hum, in fact. It smells divine, and it looks the part as well. The crust on the outside looks like it's been baked to golden and flaky perfection. But the egg wash wasn't forgotten either, giving it a nice finish.
You made these? You're not pulling my leg, are you? These look great.
I make only the best for you, my love. Do try it out yourself, yes? I want to see what you make of it. Perhaps I will be able to prepare more meals for you in the future.
Breakfast in bed? You spoil me, darling. Well, I can't say no to that, can I? Bon appetit.
The crust of the pie breaks easily with a bite, and I'm greeted with the taste of nice buttery pastry. But looking back down at the pie, I feel a bit put off. The meat is red. Okay. Well, that ruins the charming moment. That ruins it quite a bit, actually. The meat is red and a tad bit soggy, though I can't place what would make it that way. It tastes of turkey more than beef, though an odd one at that. There's no real source of marinade to excuse the juice. It tastes like turkey that's been kept too long in the fridge after being roasted and carved. Definitely white meat at the very least, and well done as well. Wait. I'm checking something. Sorry, Anne. What was the entry about Marianne's? Fuck. I can't find what I'm looking for. Where's the article about when Marianne died? The thing is tough enough though, stringing it in sinews would say it's more muscle than anything. And
What is?
I better try to spit out whatever it might be. A few fine strands of something thankfully comes out. Although if I've swallowed any, it's far too late. Not unless I want to act like a cat trying to cough up a fur ball. It's just unfortunate the odd sensation of it being stuck in my throat still lingers, even as I down the glass of juice she has brought with the meal.
Buttercup, are you sure the ingredients you used are clean?
I do believe she's just fed him human flesh, by the way.
Oh, I do apologize. That must be, you know, Chef has been feeding some stray cats lately.
Oh, it's a cat.
There are some roaming around the property. I saw him petting one just the other day during his break. Said he found it in a cellar. But you have nothing to worry about, my love. I took care of it.
Oh, she took care of it all right. She took care of that cat. Permanently. She laughs then, probably because of the funny look on my face, but I just have this image in my head of Hannah chasing after a cat to shoo it out. We aren't cat people, but I doubt that means she would be cruel to the feline.
Maybe the other pies are clean.
I don't quite have the appetite for breakfast anymore. But thanks. Bloody cats.
If that is what you wish, all the same, it will give me more time to spend with you. You will spend time with me, yes?
I did tell myself that I would wet myself up a day off today, but she doesn't know that. And I can't help but feel that offness again as her eyes burn through me. There's an eagerness there, a hunger, which makes my skin crawl. And she does look a bit pale, doesn't she? An unnatural reaction. I can do little else but not, because answering otherwise seems the wrong thing to do.
Would it please you to have some tea then? I can fetch it if you wish.
Pushing myself off the bed with a groan, I roll my eyes and sigh. The crick I feel on my neck is easily taken care of, and I try to fly on my bed head to something a bit tamer. All throughout, Hannah still watches me, expectant and doting.
No need for that. We can have tea in the parlor, if you don't mind. Really now, Hannah, there's no need to busy yourself over it.
I shall go ahead and prepare the parlor then.
Just relax.
I've barely said 2 words before she's out the door, however, and I'm left speaking to her.
Hannah, what is up with that woman?
She's not as slight herself. Though, perhaps I should have said no. Perhaps I should have feigned business or claimed the restlessness that would let me out of the house, away from her and her pies. Because as soon as I stated my intent to waste the day away, that woman would neither let me lift a finger nor step a foot outside. She is animated, oddly so, moving about the parlour and fetching things for me that she deemed necessary, and were necessary, as if she knows what I need or want before I can even voice it aloud. Leftover green bean casserole, but the green beans are fresh and onions I fried at home leftovers. Oh! A pillow for my feet and a book to read through I cannot, for the life of me, focus on it. It does not bother me too much as I've read the picture of Dorian Gray twice over. I know nothing but shadows and I thought them to be real. I should be glad for the attention and the doting really, instead of needing the cells in the self.
Why don't you just sit down and relax, dear?
It's probably because you're not used to her doing it, it seems out of character for her.
We are supposed to be spending time together. I don't think you rushing around like a handmaid is how I pictured it. You are wearing yourself out and the sun is still high in the sky.
There's a stiff jerk of her head as if to say no, while she busies herself with making tea with water already lukewarm. My instruction to take leave may be the only one she refuses to follow. Even if I express concern for her well-being and point out that there are others assigned to the task she wishes to carry
You
out.
do not need the others. You have me. I wish to show my usefulness, and I wish that you not ask me to leave.
You are not one of the servants, Hannah.
It was a thought that escapes my mouth, and I prepare myself for a reprimanding. Because servants? You shall, Michelle White. They are employees, and you will treat them with respect at the very least. Yet that didn't come.
Of course. Of course I'm not a servant. I am your wife. your princess.
I think we're both a bit too old to be playing princes and princesses. I do not know what brought on such behaviour from her. Yet I can't bring myself to scoff at the idea. Not when she looks torn and kind words might bring us some degree of comfort. I won't indulge in this delusional talk of monarchy. To an extent. One could suppose that Hannah is indeed Luxborn royalty after all. But as I've said in the past, this sort of obsession does not quite suit me. Yes, I do crave power and attention, but this sort of thing is suffocating, stifling, wrong. It must seem complicated and contradicting, and in all honesty it's quite simple. If Hannah were to ever put me on a pedestal, she would be turning into every other woman that I have managed to seduce due to my money and station. She'd be nothing, less than the Hannah I am bound to love. She'd be nothing but a mindless follower. Love and obsession is not one and the same. Which is the advice that he gave to Rebecca one that time. I don't want a lovesick woman who puts another before herself. Wow.
Princess. Oh, no, Hannah. You are my queen. And a queen needs to sit next to her king. So please, sit.
I can still feel them, little bugs on my skin crawling and squirming. But I ignore them as Hannah sits down next to me and I put my hand in hers. The touch to me makes me want to pull away. For now I feel them burrowing into my skin, digging holes into me though there is something to be seen there. I clasp her hand through her touch burns both cold and hot. I did not like the thought that Hannah, my sunshine, my darling, is someone I should fear. It's a bit of a paradox, for all that I do and should feel at peace in this quiet moment, dread overtakes every part of me. A small voice in the back of my head screams that there is something wrong, but I cannot bring myself to look further into it. The whole thing doesn't even last.
The tea is ready. I should go. I've forgotten the milk and sugar in the kitchens. If you may excuse me.
What to do. What should I do, Zordon? Should I let Hannah go or call the butler? A Texas. You reckon I should call the butler? Okay. We will do that. Have I really been so aloof that Hannah has to question where she stands? That she thinks that acting subservient is the only way to have my attention? My affection? This is wrong.
Hannah, just... Johans will get the tea things. Just...
Sit? Stay? No. Hannah isn't some dog I have to leash and
Just
command.
be with me, even for a little while. We rarely have time nowadays, don't we? We're always so busy.
The others are always envious that my wife doesn't demand that we be joined by the hip. The freedom is nice, to know that I need not be tied down to another person at all hours of the day. But even I can admit this
I
much.
missed you, you know. Let's just sit down together, yes?
She looks conflicted, though the reason eludes me. In the end, she chooses to stay. A summons for milk and sugar to be brought in is sent out. All the while, Hannah remains restless. She doesn't utter a peep as Schrocken brings in the things for brunch, as I may or may not have hinted that I've yet to have breakfast. Tea things are set in place along with sandwiches and all sorts of finger foods. But it's when the other man draws near to her, intent on serving tea, that Hannah's calm starts to wither. She's on her feet, hands out to take the teapot from him. The look on her face is one of disgust and annoyance. I've seen that expression before many times. In the mirror, but never on her. It doesn't suit her, much like the way she speaks now.
You are not needed here. You can leave. Now.
Oh, of course, madam. If you may excuse me, sir, I'll...
Schrocken, stay. Just let him do his job, Buttercup. That's what he's here for.
No, he is not supposed to be here. None of them are. This home is for you and I. Others are not welcome. I want them gone. They do not belong here. They are not like you and I.
Something is wrong. She's wrong. Hannah had always been kind where I was not, and I loved her so because of it. Yet now there is no warmth in her voice, and the way she talks is too cutting and harsh. The way she holds herself is unsure, stiff and awkward as if she's filled in shoes too small. This isn't Hannah. The thought itself is an impossibility. It's not like someone can be so easily replaced by an imposter. I would know. So why is she so wrong?
What's going on, Hannah? What brought about this childish temper tantrum of yours? You know well enough that what you ask is ridiculous.
What has caused her warmth to grow cold?
I don't know what brought this on. I don't know if you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or if Johans or any of the other maids ripped your favorite dress or something. But I am not going to get rid of our staff just because you're acting like a child in a sulk.
And wasn't that something? Often enough, I'm the one who's compared to a little brat and not the other way round. But it didn't amuse me enough to distract me from the situation. Grasping at Hannah's shaky hand before she actually does have a temper tantrum, I have to stop myself from flinching. Her skin is hot to the touch, and the feeling of bugs on my skin bothered me before, then nothing to the stinging sensation I feel right now. Having her hand in mine should feel right.
You still do not understand, do you, my love? Not yet, but you will. You will.
Oh my god, those eyes, they're so boring. And wait, did she always have green eyes? I want to check something. Yeah, she did. Cloudy eyes focus on me, ardent and filled with desire. It feels like I'm being stripped until my very soul is bare. But it isn't a searching look, rather one that wishes to claim. The look she gives me is nothing short of unnerving. Yeah, that's pretty freaky. But watching her as her eyes roll into the back of her head is a decidedly more terrifying sight. I let go and feel as her hand slips through mine before she falls to the ground, not intent on getting dragged down by dead weight. And doesn't that make me feel so horrible? It's an act of reflex more than anything, with the number of dead bodies I've handled in the past. Oh, okay. It's never a pleasant affair when a corpse tilts forward and pins you down. That still doesn't make it any better, of course. But what can I do? Catch her? Well, yes, but it's a bit too late for that, isn't it? Inexplicably, the stinging sensation on my skin fades away. Not that what I'm feeling right now is any better. The whole thing brings unbidden images of another to mind. Makes me feel sick. I want to cry and beg my audience to be damned, but my scream dies out before it could reach my lips, a half-choked sob. Acting like a blubbering babe won't help. I've seen this happen before, but not to her.
Mom, please wake up. Please. I'll be a good boy. Just don't leave me.
Really, I should be more concerned, yet here I am, like deathly calm before me. I waste no time kneeling by her side, tapping her hand to her cheek in a flimsy attempt to wake her. Her skin is too pale, and Shrocken does his best to find what is wrong with Hannah. Even her golden hair has lost its sheen. Her pulse is quick and her breathing shallow. I hope it's better to be cold as ice with how she looks, yet she still burns like a furnace. At the very least, that means she isn't dead. Yet.
Well, should we call for an ambulance?
If she doesn't wake up soon, yes. But it's best not to move her just yet, and...
Luke, what's going on? What happened?
I have no plans of apologizing as I shove the butler aside to check on Hannah. Though she's still away on the ground, all that matters is that she's awake, that she isn't dead. Just the thought of it. Fuck! I don't know what I would have done if things were to be the contrary.
Hey there, Sunshine. How are you feeling? Do you think you're up to standing?
I don't feel too good, no. But I think I can stand.
She reaches out for my hand and I'm quick to take it. Her cold and clammy skin is a cause for concern, but I force a reassuring smile on my face. At least I hope it's reassuring. That isn't exactly an emotion I'm used to plastering on my face. I rarely have need or want to reassure anyone else. The most I can hope for is I don't make her worry.
Come on then, let's get you up. Careful, careful. We don't want you to fall or break something.
Like your leg or your head. While getting her up to her feet is easier said than done, she claims that she can manage to stand, but she's completely dead weight as I lift her up. Weak. Too weak. I can feel the trembling of her body as if existing had exhausted her. Soon enough, Shrocken aids me and we manage to let Hannah onto a chair without further incident. I have half the mind to wrench free and run. This is all too familiar and I wanted no part in this, but do I even have the choice? At the moment, I suppose yes. I'm not running away. That's preposterous. I just need to get some air.
Shrouken, take her up to our room and take care of her, all right? Schedule an immediate appointment to a physician. Get it done. As soon as possible. I just need to...
Breathe. I need to breathe. Grey skies loom over in the horizon, though the sun fights for every precious minute it gets to stay. Wow. So he's slowly seeing his wife go down the tubes. And she has a seizure, I guess. It will rain again soon, with the wind bringing about the gloomy clouds normal to Luxborn. Until then, it doesn't hurt to be out here with some fresh air and sunshine. I walk to the gardens, what little of this there is at the moment anyway, and kneel by the daffodils. These were the first to be brought here and planted on my request, and if nothing else, they brought a sense of peace. They were Mother's favourites. Closing my eyes, I lift my chin up to welcome the light that shines upon me. And for a minute, I can imagine myself as one of the flowers, peaceful, blooming and all too happy to stand in its warmth. Life would be so much easier if we were all like flowers, weren't it? Yeah, okay. Pollinated by bees all the time and getting blown away by wind, sure. But I didn't step out here to get all philosophical. I have problems much more practical in figuring out the meaning of life, after all. Too many things have gone on these past few days, and I want to forget about them, even just a moment.
It's almost All Saints, isn't it? To think I've almost forgotten.
I speak the words absent-mindedly. The date means nothing to me, as I neither worship the religion nor have any graves to visit. After all, Mother was never given a proper burial. But it's a date as good as any for me to grieve. Otherwise, I would have done so every single day, crippling myself and shutting everyone else out. I can remember how the flames licked at her flesh and it consumed her body until there was nothing left but ash. I stood there watching with the operator and a social service worker, though I could have been alone for all I cared. I felt alone. It was the most that could be done. No one would attend the funeral of a dead prostitute, let alone pay for it. All that is left of her, proof that she had lived, is a name written in the ledger of Luxbourne Cemetery, a lighter, and me. Pulling out the lighter from my jacket, I can't stop myself from flicking it open to stir at the flame and to run my thumb over her name. All in all, it isn't much, but it's something. Eleanor. And it will be the wrong of me not to make something of myself when she would have given everything to make sure I can become anything I want to be.
Feels like I'm stuck in a nightmare right now. What I would give to have you here by my side, Mother dear. To see you smiling at me. Alive and as beautiful as ever. I'm afraid I'm starting to forget what your face looks like. I've already forgotten the shade of your hair.
Eleanor Chandler was a wonderful woman, though not everyone would have agreed. Not everyone had seen past her occupation, past her vices and her illness. All they saw was a poor woman who sold her body to make ends meet and had a bastard son because of it. They didn't see the mother who worked hard to put food on the table for me, the woman who gave and gave and gave to me while expecting nothing in return. She taught me the merits of hard work, but though I loved her so, I worked hard for myself. I would not be so foolish, so selfless towards people who would never give back. I learned that from the father who plucked me out of an orphanage for his own selfish gain. I pocket the lighter before I can feel the urge to actually set anything ablaze. Considering my close proximity to the flowers, they would be the most likely victim of arson, which is not a pyromaniac. Just the thought itself is blasphemous. Nevertheless, that doesn't save them from being picked. Just enough to make a bouquet of the things in honor of Eleanor.
Would you be proud of me if you saw me now, Mother? Maybe. You're always so forgiving. No matter what trouble I got into. More than I deserved. Especially now.
I might be playing some poker as well, Zordon, by the way, if you are interested. Depends how things go. It's been a while since I've talked to my mother like this. They say that even when our loved ones have passed on, they stay to watch over us. Though I believe in neither a heaven nor a hell, a hopeful part of me wishes it were true, as ridiculous as the idea is. I can't help but grow still, a chill going up my spine, when I do feel eyes upon me. For a while I think I'm imagining it, but I'm all too familiar with the sensation of being watched. Carefully, I scan my surroundings, doing my best to not give away the fact that I'm aware of their presence, whoever they are. There's not a soul in sight on the fields surrounding the mansion. Yet, there on the balcony overlooking the garden. She stands there, and though I cannot see her face clear from afar, I know she is the one staring at me. A servant, if one were to judge by her clothing. From this distance, I can't discern what those stains on her clothing are. The woman is of a rabid air and simply did not belong with her surroundings. That isn't what worries me, though. What worries me is that she isn't one of ours. She can't be. Obvious signs of being tattered and dirty stayed aside, there shouldn't be anyone else in that mansion aside from the three of us. And that's the balcony that leads to our bedroom. Forget pretending I don't know it.
You! What are you doing there? You're not supposed to be there!
It's a stupid thing to do, I realise in hindsight, but calling attention to it was a spur-of-the-moment plan. From the height, there's no way she would have just jumped off the balcony, and perhaps she would have only been able to sneak in there because Hannah is asleep. Calling out to her would wake Hannah and, at the very least, call Johanna's attention to the matter at hand. I dread to think of any other way she could have gone there without Hannah calling for us. The woman on the balcony doesn't react, barely even stirs. Probably drug out or touched in the head, but that begs the question of how she even managed to get in there. That changes nothing, of course, and doesn't stop me from running back to the mansion.
Shrokin! There's an intruder! In the bedroom! Upstairs! Secure Hannah immediately!
Bursting in through the front doors, I'm greeted by Johannes with a kitchen knife in his hand, looking very wary and alert, as I've kept stood on his whips for a moment, but he's quick to fall into place, giving me a curt nod before we rush up the foyer stairs. That woman would need to go through us to get anywhere, and between me and the butler, there's no way she's getting away. There's no announcing ourselves as I slam the bedroom door open, expecting to see the worst inside. When we find Hannah simply seated at her vanity without a care in the world, my relief can't be any greater. I don't even question if she's well enough to be moving around yet. But that is soon followed by suspicion and caution. Without a word, I signal for Johannes to search through the room for the intruder, even going so far as to slipping into the second bedroom. She couldn't have gone anywhere else, not without getting our attention, not without Hannah noticing. It isn't too far-fetched to think that she may have been coerced to act like nothing is out of the ordinary. If she is being forced to do this, she would be able to tell me without alerting the criminal. We should be ready for such things after all, being the wealthy, power and influential people that we are. And I've always hesitated to break her peace, to make her worry any more than she has the right to be. I know that matters of safety shouldn't be taken so lightly, even if I could just content myself in just watching her.
Are you alright, Hannah?
There's a moment of silence as she fastens a cord around her neck, and with her back still turned to me, she replies as calmly as can be.
Of course I am. Why wouldn't I be? Is there something wrong?
Yes, you look absolutely manic, and a bit like Junko from Danganronpa. There is no sign of coercion or deceit. She gives none. Everything looks fine. Seems fine. Hannah says as much. Stepping out onto the balcony doesn't say anything differently. The outside is devoid of signs of any other human life with how secluded the property is. Though it is hard to be sure with how the sun is set, trying to locate anyone in the large property by itself will be futile. Whether it is the truth or a convenient lie, one could only assume that everything is alright. And even though Hannah is in agreement.
There's nobody in the second bedroom or in the closet. It's all clear.
Yet I can't find out the awful feeling that has taken over.
Are you sure? Nobody?
Yeah, I don't blame you. You're being haunted, dude.
Double check. Triple check everything. Check the whole house if you have to.
What's going on? What is all this then?
He claims to have seen an intruder standing on your balcony. Did you notice anyone here, madam?
No, it's just been me. I've not heard or seen anybody else aside from the two of you all day. Strange.
The others have been given the day off. There shouldn't be anybody else here. Are you sure of what you saw? Perhaps you were...
Yes, I bloody well am sure of what I saw. There was a woman standing there, dark hair and in servant's clothing. Are you insinuating that I am making things up? That I'm going mad?
Mad?
Because if you are, I don't care how competent you've been. I won't have such disrespect directed at me. It's not paranoia if people are out to get me.
My anger is easily roused, no thanks to the adrenaline rush that kicked in sometime I don't know when. I don't think I'll ever get used to this feeling, really. No matter how many times I've had to allow it to survive on the streets as a child, to survive everything with how high I've managed to prop myself up, and I take any and all threats towards my person seriously.
I'm not implying that you're mad. The occasional hallucination is a completely normal and human experience, as long as it isn't a repeat occurrence.
Alright.
Oh, so what? That was a trick of the light? My imagination?
You haven't ingested any alcohol today, have you?
A valid question, but
I am not drunk.
in my state, I only realised how quiet Hannah was going when she doesn't joke about my debatable alcoholism. There is no clever quip or words of fond exasperation. She's only been watching me through all of this. And when I do notice that, I start feeling bugs growing on my skin. When I didn't deign to speak further, fixating on the sensation, Johannes cuts in.
Whatever the case, we need to establish tighter security. We should have done so from the start. If you were seeing things, then we got lucky. Had there been a real intruder, we were ill prepared.
Of course. I trust that you could hire the most qualified from the agency. Are you all right, Hannah? You seem disquieted.
I'm well, my love. I was just worried about how the hallucination brought you distress.
It wasn't hallucination, I'm sure of it, but what can I do to prove otherwise?
Doesn't matter. You are safe, as am I. I overreacted.
Perhaps rest is necessary. It is late into the day, and you must be tired from your gardening.
Before I ask how she knew what I was doing, a small fond smile graces her lips before she brushes away a few yellow petals from my sleeve. But does it really look like I'm that exhausted? I'm sure to be well rested despite it all, and it's not like I've done anything physically exhausting today. Beyond running here in a hurry anyway, no doubt I've left a trail of the flowers in my mad dash. And I suppose I do it like a mess.
That sounds good. I guess I'll need to sleep a lot more than I thought. But
I'll stand guard outside for the night. You two have nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about. I'm not so sure about that, but thinking any more about it isn't going to do anything.
Come on then, my love. Off to bed. I have been restless without you by my side.
Even then, I can't force away the uneasiness that settles over me. Sleep is hard to attain, and even Hannah's embrace does not help. She's still burning up. Oh boy, and then it's Monday. The day before. Really, little sleep I was had, and I feel completely drained come morning. Even when Hannah rises from bed in spite of a mild fever and invites me down to breakfast, I can't be bothered to drag myself out from the comfort of the sheets. It's not like I need to do something particularly important today. The rain that has started sometime during the night doesn't help the mood. Okay, maybe it just helps just a little. Strange sunny weather has been nice and all, but for it to return as it should be feels like a good sign of things to come. Perhaps things will settle back to normal and the crazy drama that's gone lately will die down. The rhythmic pitter-patter of the rain fills the early morning sounds with a steady beat. Thank goodness I don't have to be anywhere in a hurry today. I would hate to be caught unawares in this rain. With how it looks outside, it seems that the weather is making up for all the sunny days it has given us with a good old-fashioned downpour. It does let up within the quarter of an hour. However, a day beginning with a cloudburst like this, locals usually take it as an immediate sign. Looks born abysmal weather is back, likely for good. I hope they did a damn good job of fixing this place because I'd rather not have to deal with leaky roofs. Though Hannah might find humour in it and perhaps ask me to sing in the rain to wear out my anger, I don't like the idea that the realty did such a horrid patch job with the place. Hannah technically, paid millions for this place. It is bare with up to the price the realty company sold it for. Not that it's something that she should be fretting about at the moment when her health's not at its best. Hannah is going to be brought to the hospital for a checkup today, and if anything, I prefer that she focus on getting better. That fever, no matter how slight it is, can't be good for her, or with her odd behaviour recently. You'd think she hit her head against something hard and working. Perhaps a proper rest is all she needs, but I'd rather not assume things. I'm a businessman, not a doctor. Wonder of wonders why I even bother agreeing to babysit doing at that. But here I am, scheduled as today's babysitter for Suarez's brat, once her father drops her off the mansion steps. But that is a worry for much, much later. If I wish to, I can ask that nobody bother me while I doze off in a cocoon of comforters. But as always, somebody has to be a buzzkill.
Are you really going to stay in bed all day?
Yes.
what do you want? It's far too early to deal with your nosiness.
You must have been really rattled by what happened yesterday. If you need to talk about it, I am quite qualified in that regard.
And you aren't even the slightest bit bothered? Truly? Not even the slightest bit worried?
I was worried. But I realized that it's not my life in danger, is it? My worrying will not help matters. Neither will yours.
Well, as I am to admit it, he is right. The whole thing might have riled me, but there's little point in jumping at every shadow I see from the corner of my eye. I shouldn't lose my head for a threat that might not even come. I should know better by now, but I've never been this worried about a possible threat on my life before. I'll be honest here. If anyone is in danger, it's Hannah. I can take care of myself just fine. With security tightened, I'll have at least one guard, if not five, making sure nobody gets within 10 feet from me without my say-so. Hannah, on the other hand, will be away for most of the day to get that fever checked, upon my insistence. It is a small relief that Johannes will be with her.
Are there any updates about the woman?
Being in the dark has me on edge. Information any at all may very well help me in calming down.
I've already briefed security about her, and more from the agency will be arriving tonight. But they haven't seen anyone fitting the description.
So you have nothing then? A fat lot of use you guys are. What do I even pay you for? Do me a favor. There's the door. Don't let it hit you on your way out.
Well, there is something. It's about McCulloch.
Can anyone blame me if I show the tiniest bit of interest? She's still not done with the house, and she's a nice enough woman. Plans to go back to sleep at dawn.
I called her secretary about taking the day off. He hasn't heard from her over the weekend.
She's probably passed out after enjoying a pint or 2 or 10 in a bar somewhere. She's an adult. It was the weekend. She's allowed to disappear and not think about work. Fuck.
I'd agree with that. McCulloch. Hey, Flim, how's it going? Yep, we're playing as Luke's perspective now. The Ash perspective from from yesterday. Sorry, not yesterday. Tuesday. Ended in about 20 minutes of starting the stream, so we're now playing as the final perspective. And it's the day before the final.
I wish I was past it after a night of drinking. He does know that mobiles are a thing.
That's all well and good, but she's not answering her mobile either. Mr. Parker will be filling a missing persons case with the police if she doesn't turn up today.
Oh, she'll turn up alright in your wine cellar. Certainly someone must know where she is. Tabs are kept without fail. And now that I think about it, she died in the wine cellar of this place. How the fuck has no one noticed that? Even with the small number of people. I guess it's only because they didn't have to go down in a wine cellar during this weekend off. Certainly someone must know where she is. Tabs are kept without fail on people who come to work with me. Background checks and constant surveillance until they finish their contracts with the right. Some would say it's a bit over the top, but I can't be too safe. Too many want me dead.
What about one of ours? Has anyone seen her? She's pretty hard to miss with how tall the woman is.
The last anyone has seen of her was here, the morning of the party. Your housewarming party.
That isn't good news.
It wouldn't do for the police to hear of this and to suspect.
It's a little import, but I can easily prove my innocence. It's all a matter of principle. Because even the accusation of misdemeanor should not stain my reputation, although maybe it's a bit too late to hope for a squeaky clean one. Besides, it would be such a hassle to have police poking about the house looking for a body that doesn't exist.
Now, if we're done here, I'd like to go back to sleep and...
Anyway, how's your Thursday night treating you, Flynn? Well, there goes any plans of grabbing some shut-eye. Going over on my stomach, I can only scream into my pillow.
Of course, of course. Ah.
Oh, it's cute little Coyote. This will be entertaining.
Johans, distract her.
I'm doing okay, Flynn. I've had my flu jab a few hours ago, finally. On the third time of asking. So, hopefully I'm not going to feel too bad for the next day or so. But I'm finally proved I've got all my vaccine jabs and I've got the flu jabs, so I'm prepped for winter.
Oh,
Bring
look,
it on.
It's time for me to go. Have fun with your little play date. So long, farewell, and auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.
No, Johans, don't you turn away from me. Keep her busy for an hour. Come on!
I have to press my face against the pillow to osmosis to press a groan. You just can't get well help anymore.
Hello there, little Fraulein. Your uncle is just upstairs and will be down in a moment. He is super excited to have you today. I hope you're well rested and ready to play a lot.
That bastard. I'll be down in a sec, Munchkin. Let me just...
Change into a fresh shirt, brush my teeth, fix my hair, the moment of their existence. Wish I was anywhere else in the world right now. Don't get me wrong, Carrie is a great kid. Wonderful. Better than most brats her age. But handling a tyke is the last thing I want on my agenda right now with this whole Hannah business. Fortunately, I am well versed in how the world works. I've long learned that the show must go on no matter what hurdles come my way. So I am set to preparing for the day. Putting a comb through my hair is just divine and simply makes me feel more human. Dead hair is disgusting, though it isn't as bad now as it was when I was a child. With how expensive a trip to the barber's was, I often had to grow it out until Mother had the time to cut it for me. The curls and tangles were simply horrid. Why, I was even mistaken as a little girl because of that. It certainly doesn't help that I was named Lucille. A freshly pressed shirt is enough to chase away the last signs of sleepiness. The feel of crisp and clean cloth in my hands is a clear marker to the start of the day. Smoothing down my suit and my hair with a sigh, I steel myself for the horrors. And one thing I am certainly keen to do is get this game playthrough finished, Flim. I am keen to see this reach an ending at some point in the next few days. The horrors that come with taking care of a child. Although I have really enjoyed the story of this game, I am keen to move on.
Good morning, Tia Luke.
This is definitely something I will probably check out off stream after I get one ending. I kind of want to see what other endings happen. At least at this moment in time, anyway. I might just completely never touch it again. I've certainly got my 22 hours worth. Also, shout out to Draken for gifting me this game. Speak of the devil and she shall appear. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, Kylie grins up at me as soon as I open the bedroom door. She swings the backpack she's clutching, hitting my leg in a show of impatience and looking entirely unapologetic for
Did
it.
you just wake up? Don't tell me you forgot. It's our playdate today.
I doubt I'd forget. Kylie's visits are a frequent enough thing that they found a way into my schedule. They're supposed to be visits to her godmother, but we can't pick who a child gets along with. So long as I'm not busy, her father can drop her off for the day, which is all well and good for me if it makes Suarez focus on work I've given him. Besides, he's a bright child. Tolerable. Kid's got a good head on her shoulders and can get premature for her age at times. Of course, they have to thank me for that. Her parents can take partial credit, but Hannah and I have been there for this kid since she was just a small babe. But I can still remember the first time I saw her. It was during her baptism. The only reason I was there was to accompany Hannah, who was to be named godmother. She was such a tiny thing, not even a year old, and swaddled in her mother's arm in white cloth. It was the first time I really saw an infant up close enough to hold one at least. It had been terrifying to be given a little child to carry after the whole water ceremony. I'd never done so before that, to hold a tiny life in my arms. I could have just dropped her on her head and this little tight before would have stopped existing there and then. What a dark thought that is. But the child just smiled at me, babbling nonsensical words as children do, and clinging to me even as I tried to hand her off to Hannah. She had thought it hilarious and adorable. My suit had been a mess, and I was nearly an anxious wreck by the time I handed her back to her mother. Then it was pleasant
Of course
too.
I didn't, you little rugrat. I just had to take care of something before you arrived.
Really? Well, I guess that's fine. As long as you told me for work like last time.
Really? Now why don't we go back down and have breakfast in the parlor?
I already ate at home. Papa made one of his tortillas de patatas. He wouldn't let me leave until I finished every bite.
At least we also have an explanation for why Luke and Kylie have their little sessions. He's getting her father to do some work for them. Ah, the Suarez's infamous tortilla de patatas. Those things are a hazard. You could probably use one to bludgeon someone into submission with how huge they are. It's a miracle Kylie can be so energetic. I had trouble staying awake the first time I had one. Speaking of staying awake...
Well, I need some coffee in me at the very least. But if you'd like, you can jump straight to dessert.
Yes! Dessert, please!
It's easy enough to manage Kylie with the promise of sweets, thankfully. As with most kids. The hard part is managing her before she gets the sweets, because I nearly have a heart attack when the kid races down the stairs. Just the thought of her slipping and breaking a net is enough to make me rush down after her.
Slow down, the food isn't going anywhere.
The food is going somewhere. In my tummy.
Jesus fucking Christ. Children.
For shaking my head, I usher Carrie towards the parlour and order a maid to bring food for us. Whatever breakfast there is, along with a cup of coffee for me and an ice cream for Kylie. But I can't leave the kid alone for too long unless I want to let her turn the other room into a slaughter ground. What, placing all those imps around? True to my expectations, I've only left Kylie alone for a few minutes, but she's already made herself comfortable. The stuff from her backpack has been left scattered across the room, from coloring books and crayons to toys. It's a rather fancy doll. And we've got a dinosaur and a little crayons and a cute little big teddy bear. She's well equipped to amuse herself with no trouble, though I could certainly breathe a little easier if she won't bring her doll along every time she visits. Narcissa or Cisa is a creepy little bugger. It doesn't help when Carrie left her during one. Finding the thing at the bottom of the stairs staring up at me at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning is a memory that won't be with me anytime soon. She looks very grumpy. Even now it stares at me from where it's seated. I'm wholly tempted to just throw the thing into the fireplace and banish it from whence it came. I can buy her a prettier doll, a better toy. I will break it, find a way to get rid of it, if it wasn't from Hannah and if only Carrie isn't so attached to it. The thing is some antique doll she found for the brat's 6th birthday. One of a kind. My darling Hannah loves her so, and Carrie does try to be a good goddaughter, but she just can't keep her interest along with the wife. It's not something that Hannah does wrong on her part, she just tries so very, very hard. It's just that she doesn't quite know how to really handle children. She'd never been around other children until she was young, surrounded by protective adults who cared for her every whim and worried for her safety every minute. When she isn't able to keep up with Kylie, her first instinct is to be strict. Impose rules on the child, treat her as if she is made of spun glass, like every moment might break her. I, at least, have some idea from being around street kids. I know the games they've played and how they think. I know that scraps and skinned knees are all part of childhood. Even with how I grew up, I had time to be a child and not some sheltered heiress. With Kylie, as behaved as she can be with her toys and her books and art, she has to use up all her energy somehow. To run around the playground and make a mess in the mud, or even to just fake wrestle for a short while. Let her be a child when she wants, I'll say. If it becomes too much, just buy her sweets or ship her back to her papa. Problem solved. Unfortunately, Hannah isn't quite up for these sort of things most of the time, thinking it'll spoil the child. It turns the whole playdate awkward, every time. Taking the last seat left, I put one of her coloring books on the table to see it filled with dinosaurs. Not exactly what I expect to see for a little girl, but it doesn't hurt anyone. If she wants to play with dolls and cars, or dolls with their cars, what do I care? She wants to put dolls' tutus on model cars, even.
Oh, this is a new one. The last one you had was filled with horses, wasn't it?
Those were ponies, Tio. They're much cuter than horses. We went to a dinosaur zoo, and it was awesome! Dinosaurs are my favorite.
I have no idea what that is, but it must be something. I'm only familiar with the T-Rex myself.
Yeah, they found, fossils of its claws. They're really long. They think the whole theory might be a bazillion meters tall, even bigger than a T-Rex. Cisa says it'll be big enough to eat all my classmates.
The eyes. The fucking eyes. She only laughs as I scrunch up my nose and grimace.
Takako says you're making a really funny face.
Takako?
Taka who?
Takako, a friend I made.
I have to stop and look around expecting one of the help to be there. The child does have a way of befriending us about anyone. Hey, Robot Pharos, I'm playing the douche now. Well, the email base after our adventures on Tuesday night, we went down the attic and we went through a weird backroom style loop where we went in infinite rooms for about 10 minutes. Then we escaped to the main hall where Luke Wright had a gun pointed at our faces. All three of us, as we were heading into a duel, and we decided not to try and make Luke see some sense that he's in a haunted house with a gun pointed at our neck. His wife appeared at the top of the stairs, and then it cut to Luke. So we don't know what happened. They left us on another cliffhanger. And now we're in the mansion one day before what happened just earlier, and our wife is acting weird and we're suspicious, and now we're having a playdate with Kylie in the mansion. And he has some issues. He also saw an intruder in Hannah's bedroom, but he brushed it off as well. Basically, he doesn't know his wife's possessed yet. The child does have a fear of befriending us by anyone as long as she puts her mind to it. Yet the two of us are completely alone. Thankfully, she only finds something disturbed because of another funny grown-up expression. That might be a lot more problematic than whether she plays with dolls or cars, though. Both the thoughts of Cisa giving Kyrie ideas and one of said ideas being massacred by dinosaur. Something I probably need to bring up with her father, aside from work. But beyond murderous dinosaurs, creepy dolls, and imaginary friends, I find no trouble with Kylie. She's as energetic and precocious as any tyke her age can be. She's an angel, she can get comfy and settled in after getting her sweets. Wow. That looks really good, actually. We took it to our waffles as soon as food is brought in. Our waffles because she wanted her own plate to go with the ice cream as soon as she saw mine. A fresh plate of berries is brought in as well, which really goes great with the rest of this feast, as Carrie puts it. And if I indulge in some sweetness, I have a cup of black coffee to pair it off with. With our bellies full, Kyrie goes content with just scribbling on a scrap of paper and calmly chatting about a week. She talks of her older brother Roland and their parents, how they plan to go to the blocks land in Berkshire for their winter holidays. She talks of Mrs. Pink, and I had to shift my legs to become comfortable once more, with memory of my initial meeting with her still fresh on my mind. The little brat is quick to defend her favourite academic as well. The one has yet to offer a proper apology, and she wishes to give one on her behalf, all diplomatic like I taught her. She talks of the sad man in the park, that's Zach, and of her new friend who likes to play hide and seek when she's not sniffling in the loo. When finally she finds nothing new to talk about, she goes back to her drawings. That'll change as soon as her stomach settles, of course, the calm before the storm. Because, behaved as she is right now, I can just feel the curiosity just radiating off her. There's a restlessness buzzing under her skin and a question on the tip of her tongue as they often are with children her age. But for now, I can take this piece with no complaint for how long it stays. I have fun with the crayons as well, at the child's insistence, even if I can't really draw. If Carrie isn't the black crayon, that leaves me with the blue one. And as of mine, we start to draw a puppy to the best of my abilities. It's as I attempt to give the Doodles dogs another eye that Carrie breaks her silence.
Tio? Where did Tia go? I saw them leave when I got here. Tia didn't look so good.
I've been expecting a lot of different questions. The kid always has a whole bunch of them ready for me, but I can only decide when she posed this particular one.
She's just going to the doctor's for a checkup.
And as kids go, there are follow-up questions.
And you didn't go with her?
Well, you were going to be here, sweetie, so I had to stay behind.
So she's all alone? At the hospital?
Oh, no, of course not. Tia has Johans and her maid and a guard. She's got plenty of company.
Yeah, but you're not with her.
If I didn't know better, I'd say the kid is trying to make me feel guilty. I want to say that little Tyke is evil for making me feel so.
I understand. When I get sick, Papa and Mama have to leave me with their maids, too.
Oh, they don't take care of you?
That doesn't sound right. Even my mum took care of me when I was sick as a child.
Well, they're always busy with work.
Oh, I see. I guess that's no good.
I know she doesn't mean to accuse me of anything, but as her father's boss, maybe I do overwork Suarez a bit. There's a lot of responsibilities that only he is capable of carrying out. Delegation is a thing, sure, but when such responsibilities are legally questionable at best, proposing to the task isn't always an option. But
maybe your papa is in need of some vacation time. He deserves it, doesn't he? He's a hard worker. I could arrange something for the holidays.
I could cut him some slack. Some of his assignments can wait. I can't do much for Mom. She isn't one of my employees, but this would have to suffice. It would be worth it if it makes the little girl happy, because just like that, the somber look on her face turns into one of pure joy. It's like looking at a little sun, warm and bright. It's nice to do something kind every now and then.
Would you really, Tio?
Would you like that?
I'd like that very much, yeah! We can go to this museum! There's one with lots of cool trains and planes! I like trains! And there's the local Manor theme park! And a monkey forest! There's a kid adventure farm too, the wacky warehouse, and a play barn as well, and...
Whoa, slow down there, Munchkin. I know you're excited, but I think you should let me schedule your dad's day off before you plan a whole year's worth of stuff.
There's an embarrassed giggle, but she does reel herself in enough to calm down, which is a feat in and of itself. Notice how giddy she is. And if she wasn't looking forward to the holidays before like any child should, she does now.
I think Tia would be really happy if you were with her. You could have told me you needed to go to the hospital with her, Tio. I won't be angry.
I'd love to be with her, but I wanted to spend time with you, Munchkin. And she told me to stay. Besides, I don't like hospitals. They always smell like alcohol. Not the good kind either.
I don't think anybody likes hospitals. They're scary.
Well, that's true, but they're necessary.
But you said Tia is brave and strong.
That she is.
A content silence comes over us as we go back to scribbling. Though I stop when I'm done with my blue dog, cringing at how awful it looks. I like this kid. She's a good character in this game. Carrie reprimands me for that because I should be like her. The little tyke goes through several sheets of paper, one drawing after another. Practicing, she says, because practice makes perfect. Not to mention there's a drawing contest coming up in class and she just has to beat Tim from Class D who says girls can't be superheroes. Well, that's fucking stupid. Quite a few are. Tim needs to be shown the Marvel Universe. Hey Tim, there's a Wonder Woman. Well, okay, that's DC, but you know, also same thing. Hey, here's a Wonder Woman and all these X-Men who are actually X-Women. You know, Miss Marvel, and countless others across both books, comics. Tim from Class D is stupid. The clay gets a turn too when we start sculpting food and pretending we're Michelin chefs. When we're too tired from tossing pizza and making cakes, there's no trouble in finding another activity more likely for the both of us. I find myself invested in reading The Picture of Dorian Gray once more. Often I lose myself in the pages of the book. However, it is rather difficult to do so when I'm also trying to keep an eye and ear out for Kylie. I've been reading the same paragraph over and over again even. Inexplicably, I can feel my skin crawl when the girl sits with Narcissa. I don't know how to pronounce that. Narcissa by the parlour's fireplace, humming. She's not going to sing London Bridge again, is she? But I ignore it long enough to hear only the tail end of the song.
Everything is up in flames, up in flames, up in flames. Everything is up in flames, my fair lady.
She is singing that bloody London Bridge song that she likes to sing. I don't think I can spend any more time with Carrie considering how high-strung I feel, so it is a good thing that Suarez came for her as soon as I've called. Though it is earlier than the agreed upon time, he voices no complaint. The bastard even has a look of relief as soon as they left. Or at least I interpreted it as such from where I've stood by one of the windows, not bothering to step out and greet the man. No doubt he doesn't trust me around his spawn. Well, he has every right to be suspicious of me. I am a dangerous man after all. Although not with kids. Why is it that doll? Well, that doll may have some... Who knows if that doll has something to do with anything. I mean, the last time I played a haunted visual novel, the fucking doll was the chief culprit. Remember? Which also involved a mansion. Which also involved a doll. Which also involved haunting shit happening in and around said mansion and other places. But to my chagrin, that leaves me with the rest of the day with nothing to do. Well, aside from picking up the mess Carrie was scared about in the parlour, to my immense relief she remembered to take the doll home with her this time. But the same cannot be said of the crayons and papers littered here and there. First things first, I snatch my own doodle off the table and rip it to shreds, leaving no hope that it will see the light of day. The rest of the drawing old Carrie's remained unharmed as I collect the lot. Though they have been stacked neatly on the table before, they must have been blown about when I saw Carrie off. And there are plenty of them. Oh yeah, visual novel gameplay with Johnny! Hey G411, how are you doing? Yeah, you better get you... It might be one of the last few times you see it, G411, because, well, you know... I'm not going to be doing any more after this, really. Unless they're real short. From cats and cakes to colourful rainbows and gardens, the child managed to make a lot of doing a morning here. There is one more, but I have to fish out the fire points where it landed. Expecting to see another one of Kylie's masterpieces, I'm instead agreeing with something a bit more concerning. There is me, and there is Kylie, the two of us, side by side and smiling as our stick-figure selves stand in a nondescript field. That much I can ascertain without looking at the labels before the doodle's feet. But a third figure stands next to me in the drawing. Oh my gosh! The person with the suspiciously sounding name that sounds like she belongs straight in a fucking Asian horror movie is a fucking Asian horror movie test character. What a shocking twist that I didn't see coming a mile off. You're more into gambling, especially poker, right? I am playing more poker recently, of course. Yeah. A woman with her face hidden behind a curtain of black. Takako. You know, he's even got his name that sounds like Sadako, Kayako, Takako.
Takako says you're making a really funny face.
Taka who?
Taka who?
Takako, a friend I made.
A creepy friend with bloody eyes, apparently. The hairs on the back of my neck stand on end and I feel a chill go down my spine. A breath. That isn't mine. That has me turning around, expecting, hoping to see someone, anyone, but nothing. And that's when I hear it. Laughter, sweet and merry laughter ringing from the ballroom. Thinking about it as my cheeks burning and my blood running hot, it's as if I'm being mocked. I know, Jesus Christ, yes. As I stomp towards the door, I have to stop myself from shouting up a storm. I expect to see some of the help dallying about, idle from their duties. Perhaps they thought they can slack off in their duties without the head butler around in my preoccupation with Kylie. Well, they had another thing coming. But again, nothing. Nothing from what I can see with a cursory glance at the very least. I roam around looking for near impossible hiding places. And still, I am all alone. Yet I can still hear the laughter, that accursed laughter, echoing about in the room, in my head.
Who's there? Show yourselves and show some respect to the master of the house!
Cold uneasiness settles into my stomach when no one answers. I stumble on my own 2 feet, feeling a wave of nausea come from nowhere. I have to put a hand against the wall to stay upright when the world shifts and pain explodes from behind my eyes. It takes every ounce of my self-control not to heave then and there. The only thing my pride allowed me to do is close my eyes and attempt to alleviate some of the pain. Wait, is the image shaking slightly? You could quit this game if you're scared. I doubt it, G411. This game doesn't really scare me that much. I think it's had one good scary moment. Otherwise, it's not that scary. Vague, unfamiliar images, dare I say memories not mine, flash into my head, unbidden and unwelcome, like a strong hammer strike to the head, threatening to crack my skull and split it into two. I might even consider playing some poker later on tonight, G411, if time permits after this stream. Like I've been doing with these recently, but we'll see how the game goes. Whatever emotions they hold are muted. I'm nothing but a spectator. Still, its weight feels palpable. Though it doesn't take long for these sensations to get into my head. From my eyes and my ears, it creeps and buzzes in the spaces between. My fart feels like it's seizing in my chest, like it's being squeezed and the pressure won't stop until it bursts. Oh, it's the Lord and Lady Ermengarde.
Are you truly storming off over some hearsay? Be sensible!
What you did, it is... There are no words. You bring disgrace to this family. This rotten noble standing in front of me is not the cousin I grew up with. This is not the lady I fell in love with. She would never do such unspeakable things, Charlotte.
I bring disgrace. I bring disgrace. I am not the idiot who's running off in the middle of the night. You promised, Edward. You gave me your word. Don't you dare turn your back on me. I swear to you, if you step 1 foot out of these lands, mark my words, Edward, I will.
What? What is it you swear? Will your men steal me away, defile me too like what you did to yourself?
There's an undercurrent of fear. I'm in danger, my head screams at me. And there is hurt, a deep burning shame I can feel on the woman's behalf. Looking at her on its own is a chore I cannot bear. Over and over it hurts. Ugh, this is that picture we saw in one of the memory fragments we unlocked when someone died. The pain, however, is not overbearing or blinding. It is the littlest of cuts and the bruising of flesh by blunt force. It dribbles down my cheeks and my mouth. There is a pounding in my head. It is not blinding, but that makes it all starker. Everything hurts.
Please, milady, he need not suffer. I beg of you, have mercy. You already have me to do as you please. He deserves none of this.
Why is this happening?
Silence, before I cut out that impertinent tongue of yours and feed it to the dogs. You will watch and you will learn what happens when I'm displeased.
What have I done to deserve this? One after the other they come at me, an unending flood that threatens to sweep me away for what feels like an eternity. Each one a show of both joy and suffering to those who have called this mansion their home. Each new scene is like a hammer to the head, threatening to crack my skull and split it in two. I can feel every little emotion the blurry images that present itself in my head. I feel a part of these, like I've lived through them, though I know that is not possible. All their anger burns through me, that much is evident, but the pain more so. And above all of it are the whispers, the voices calling, whirring, until one image emerges in vivid contrast with the others. When it's a shout of joy, my eyes snap open, looking for the culprit. That's when the whole room just changes. Everything is the same, yet everything isn't. There are people everywhere, laughing and dancing. I should be concerned about them, but my mind finds it easy to dismiss them as they fade in and out from nothingness. Instead, I find my concentration drawn to a man and a woman, but one can only call them a lord and a lady, going by their clothes. And their ridiculous hair length, jeez. And oh, just see how happy the couple looks. For the man's eyes are eerily blank, like he's not all there. His face is familiar though. In fact, they both are, but I can't place why. The two make for a pretty picture as they dance in the centre of the ballroom. Even the phantom crowd's attention stay on them. It reminds me so much of Hannah and I during the early days of our marriage. The honeymoon years, they call it. We were happy then too, all smiles and her sunshine, even with the normal dreary weather. Younger, we had less to worry about, or at least thought that way. I wished we could go on that way even with all that I did and had to do. But life has a way of catching up. There was work to be done. Although we had to stay the loving perfect couple in public, I could not afford to look so weak. To appear tied down to someone else, to those who knew who I really am. I had to harden my heart when I have business, but it hadn't always been so easy to just switch that part of me on and off. I should be concerned about their intrusion too. Ask what in bloody hell they are doing in my house, throwing a party as if they owned the place. Ask myself how the fuck I didn't notice what was going on before, when the parlour and the foyer are both only a few doors away. but I have the feeling that yelling and screaming at them won't do much of anything in any way. None of the others have given me notice. I realize that this might not even be real. It dawns on me that these are two of the people from the paintings, the ones all over the mansion. Which makes sense. I don't think I'm imagining enough to make this all on my own. This must be a dream, or a really horrible high. Just then I can feel eyes on me as I contemplate the absurdity of the situation, yet I find difficulty in trying to turn my eyes away from the two dancing. I manage, and I regret looking away. Oh, wonderful. The woman from the balcony stands beside me. I think we're going to die now. At least we would say that if we knew what happened. I can hear her rattling breath, menacing and chilling. Everything in me screams to run, but something pins me to the spot as she just looks at me, watching and waiting. The clamour of their voices filled the ballroom. Although they say such welcoming words, I do not feel comforted by the madness I'm experiencing. Their joyous voices turn sinister and foreboding to my ears. A chorus of people which shouldn't exist, threaten to overwhelm me, drown me even as I stand on dry land. The music still plays as the Phantom Quartet continues while I stand here, vulnerable and afraid, but the dance has already ended. I'm afraid that I might just be tonight's entertainment. The tension is all well and good until bullocks like this go down. These Phantom people watch me, thousands of eyes scrutinizing me, but they cheer for my return, cajole me to dance and join the merriment. These are eager hands all over, pulling me in every direction, but they did not move me enough to remove me from the woman's gaze.
Listen. Can you not hear them as they welcome you home? Your kind, our kind. You're one of us, my love. We are bonded by the blood we share.
If I thought the voices were overwhelming before, it is nothing compared to how they are now. Their voices are loud, speaking in unison and echoing on ever in the spaces of my head. They welcome me back as if I've always belonged, as if I was meant to be here in the first place. They call me all these titles and names that do not belong to me, and that man's face, the one with the empty eyes, flashed again before me. Once, fleetingly, like a new memory having burned itself in my mind, no full stop. I have to struggle for air when I come back to myself after.
I'm not. This isn't.
The welcomes turn to screams at my protest, pain and desperate pleas for my help, telling me that it is my duty to stay, telling me that I belong among them, to them. Gentle touches turn near threatening, the warning scratches and the baring of teeth by predators before they truly maim someone. My mouth goes dry as I struggle to speak some sense in this hallucinatory madness, but I don't get the chance as they drown out my voice.
Our lord, my prince.
At other words, there is a compulsion to stay, but my heart races in my chest. The fear I should be experiencing refuses to register in my head. Mind and body war with each other, nearly daring me in two.
Oh, you finally returned to us.
The compulsion to walk into her arms is strong. Whispers in my head tell me to go to her. They say that she is safety, she is home and heart.
We have been waiting for so long.
But repulsed at these thoughts, I wrench away and turn with a small gasp. Without hesitation, I start to make a run for it. I nearly falter when an angry shriek pierces the air, inhumane and monstrous. I don't dare look back, I just run. I don't care if it's a drug-induced hallucination or not. Just run! Out of the ballroom. And out of the parlour. It's only then that I bother to look back, hoping and praying to the god of scorn that it did not pursue me. I would have run all the way out of the mansion too if only someone didn't get in my way. I collide with a body much larger than mine and fall back to the ground, head spinning as I look up at the stained glass. Turning my head to the side replaces the colourful sight with a pair of shiny black shoes. Fatigue fills every inch of my being then, making me refuse to get up. Meanwhile, a familiar head of ginger hair looks down at me in bemusement.
You really must look where you're going if you insist on running about. Do tell, where is the fire?
Oh, thank God you're here.
I do hope you don't have a concussion. Can you count backwards from 15 to 1 for me?
Oh, fuck off, you wanker. Just help me up.
I do not think insulting me if you do have a concussion is a smart decision. But no, really. 15 to 1.
That woman, she was here. I told you to keep an eye out for her.
The other man offers an arm and pulls me up to my feet then. Before I can storm off and pull him to the ballroom, he anchors me down with one hand on my shoulder and another touching the back of my head.
No bruising or bump. That still does not mean that you don't have a concussion. If you are too lazy to count backwards, can you tell me your full name? Where are you currently?
We don't have Lucille Mitchell Wright, and this is the Ermengarde bloody fucking foyer. But we don't have time for this.
You must make and have the time to make sure you are not broken in the head. I have already sent security to scour the whole house when I saw you running out of the parlor, Dummkopf. If the woman is here, they will have her. You will only be slowing them down if you plan to interfere.
When he points that out, I realise that there are guards starting to filter into the house as we speak, with some already searching the nearby rooms. Armed and uniformed men go about in pairs, making it so that the house is in a flurry of activity. You lets go of me then, with a noise, and I'm not going to keel over anytime soon.
I was hoping that you would be tired from dealing with the young miss on my return.
Instead, he found a much spookier thing.
Instead, you come running and hit your head. Such a troublesome boy. Shall I be carrying you to bed, too?
I can manage just fine on my own. Though I don't see how I can sleep until that woman is caught.
It'll be easier to keep you safe in your quarters. This is twice we've known the woman to break in. I think we can safely presume that you hold her interest.
He says it as a matter of fact in a tone that brook no argument. Not like I'll argue if it means I'm kept safe. The two of us hurry upstairs, though we should be watchful and wary of any potential threats to my person. We make it to the master bedroom without any trouble, though, and two of the security are left outside the door. No problems at all. Not until we get inside. Johanna's eyes scan the room wildly, a look of dread on his usually stoic face. I don't understand it for a moment. Looking around the bedroom, it's empty. But then I realize...
Where's Hannah? She came home with you from the hospital, didn't she?
She's supposed to be here. I sent one of the maids to accompany her here, to let her rest.
I feel the colour drain from my face when he raises a hand to stop me from charging out there.
Stay.
I'm not staying in here while Hannah stays out there.
One of the guards will find her and bring her here.
And what if they don't? What if that woman gets to her first? What if she already has her?
That's not possible.
You can't promise that.
There's no second thought as I reach under my side of the bed and pull out one of my knives. I have no doubt that the other man can take me on if we are both unarmed. But with this I can even the field, or at least deter him from escalating the situation and risking hitting either of us.
I'm going out there to look for Hannah. And you're either with me or you aren't. I'm not risking Hannah, and I'm not leaving her alone.
Still, like a stubborn mule, he refuses to budge from the door. There's a withering look on him that I've tried to match. One that somehow I am losing fast to, even with him not saying a word
Can you
yet.
see yourself in the mirror right now? You are in no proper state to go looking for anyone. If it will make you happy, I will do the looking. But please, and don't make me repeat this, stay where it's safe, where security can find you. We already have one person to be worried about. Please don't add another one to it.
Perhaps it is his tone. In spite of his general disdain for virtually everything that has to do with me, I'd like to think that over the years he has grown to care for Hannah at least. Much as I will to admit this, I trust him with her safety over any servant in this house. So, and
You have
acquiesce.
2 hours, Shirokin. I don't think it'll take that long to find one missing woman in this house. 2 hours. Any more than that, and I'm going out there.
Of course.
Despite his words, he lingers. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he wants to make sure I didn't that damn bed and sleep before he turns away from me. What am I, a child? Watching me and treating me like one? There's a reason why we will never get along.
Well, what are you waiting for?
And the knife?
The knife stays.
Very well.
Only then does he seem to get the hint. With a nod, he leaves, locks, and closes the door behind him. For a moment, I still hear his voice while he gives the guards outside firm instructions, and a hush as soon as he departs and his footsteps fade away. Wonder doesn't quite last, and quickly as the silence settles, lightning flashes across the sky, followed immediately by the loud boom of thunder. And that wanker strikes so dangerously close I can feel the electricity in the air. The power goes out not a second later, and I think I'm being mocked by whatever greater power there is. Oh, that explained the power outage. Lightning strike. All is deathly still for a moment, but soon the rain starts once again. Far heavier than the light drizzle from this morning, its pitter-patter hitting hard against this place's roof. Despite the noise, I found myself drawn to my bed, exhausted, hoping for a little nap. I'm safe here. Hannah will be safe too. Shrocken will find her, and when I wake, she'll be here. It does not take long. Once my head hits the pillow, in a matter of minutes, darkness claims me, bringing with it laughters and whispers of a twisted love from a time long gone.
Who are you? Stay away!
Sweet dreams, my love. It'll be over soon.
Oh, and now we're on to the fateful Tuesday morning. Yet, in spite of the unfamiliar voices and unwanted touches from shadows lurking in the dark, rousing is a slow, arduous process. Difficult, every limb heavy with lead. No matter my aversion for the words they murmur in the ears or the sight of a horrid smile from afar, my body refuses to yield. I am at their mercy. Beyond fathomable reason, my consciousness refuses to pull with the waking world, choosing to linger in the pits of a dream, gradually drawing me deeper into unknown depths. Somehow, even if it might mean I may never open my eyes, I'll allow them.
You do not belong there, my prince.
Not that I mind getting a few extra hours, of course. The bed's more than comfortable as it is. After an exhausting day yesterday, babysitting Cowie and the stress of finding an intruder in my own home, I think I deserve a little break every once in a while, especially after going through all that in a single day. I can only be on the receiving end of so many unacceptable things within the span of a few hours, you know. As gracious a wholesome person I am, I pay that limit too. Although there's still that problem with Hannah. I haven't forgotten that, of course, but that's why I hired Stocken. He's competent enough. He won't even last a day in my service if he's any lesser than those half-wits who think they can deceive me with sweet words. He's more than capable of working his own without guidance. But the book will take care of that little problem with Hannah while I... Hannah.
You do not need her. I am here. We are here. This is where your home is. Where you belong. For the blood we share.
What?
Come back to us.
How long has it been since? Johannes has never taken this one before.
Surely there should have been an update by now, right?
So why isn't there?
Please don't go.
Bloody hell, the cretins I've surrounded myself with.
I mean, isn't that enough reason to force myself out of bed? I say it's always been the case. Calm down. Oh. My eyes fly open, expecting the warm rays of sunshine filtering through the curtains, only to be greeted by a blinding flash of light and a loud boom of thunder that sounded nearly too close to my ears. Strong gusts of wind will occasionally burst in from the open balcony door, bringing in drizzles of cold rain into the room. I must have left it open there before dozing off. The carpet and the floor closest to it is already drenched. Hannah's going to be so cross once she sees this. Not that it's an immediate problem. If anything, it's this power outage we should be manning first. With the intruder still at large, steering through this darkness might be more fatal than multiple stab wounds, or a gunshot to the chest.
Oh, great. The power's still out. That is exactly what I need right now. Yes.
It's this storm, of course. I should have moved back to the penthouse to weather it in a much more comfortable setting. Already I can hear the creak and groans of this old place as rain beats against the windows.
Johans! Has someone been sent to check the circuit breaker yet?
No answer.
Johans?
Silence.
Shroken! Someone! Anyone?
Still nothing, and my cordial mood is quickly dissipating.
Where are those idiots when you need them?
It's really a wonder why he hasn't fixed this yet. Was I really out that long? Can't be. It's only been a few hours up to midnight, if the time on my wristwatch is anything to go by. Unless I've forgotten to change it again after that last overseas trip a month ago. Though the delay is understandable if he went looking for Hannah as he promised, but bloody hell, my safety's also at stake here. Cursing, I stay still, letting my eyes try to adjust to the darkness while my hands fumble for my slippers. If that butler isn't going to fix this, I may as well order the security posted outside to do it. It's probably just a blown fuse. Anyone with a brain can repair one. Grabbing my jacket and with footwear firmly on, I make for the door. Although in haste, I pause briefly when a gleam catches my eye. On one of my drawers, underneath the clutter I've yet to organize, the muzzle of a gun peeks out. Hannah has never openly commented my possession of it, but I know she does not approve of it, knowing the bloody firearms policy in this nation. Of course, I've not found much use for it in the 7 years we've been together, otherwise she would have already had it thrown out years ago. Doesn't mean it won't be useful right now. Swings the gun. Without second thought, I seize it, staying the puff pound above it onto the floor. Whatever. I'll get to it later. This blackout problem should be resolved first. Right next to my missing security details, it turns
Where
out.
the fuck did everyone go?
There were two, weren't there? Srocken had two blokes posted to stand guard for the night. I might be panicking for a bit earlier, but I'm quite sure I haven't gone delusional yet. What, did both of them decide to take a break? Because they think the master's already sound asleep and won't be looking for them?
Damn nitwits.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to them, actually. Because when we went up to the attic and got ambushed by Johannes, there should have been two guards outside the door, so something's happened to them before that. I know assassinations happen very rarely these days, and even less in a peaceful city like Buxbaum, but bollocks! There's been a woman going in and out of this place uninvited who may or may not want to put a knife in my back. Is that enough reason to stay on alert? I'm fairly certain Shrocken won't just enlist their help for this power outage, only to leave me unprotected. We have a difficult friendship, so to speak, but I doubt that the man is an opportunist. I'm holding the lives of his family in my hands after all. He knows what I'm capable of doing. He's not stupid enough to do anything that'll endanger them. Oh, okay. That'll endanger them and save only himself. So where then? Only my footsteps echo along dark passage, and I'm left gripping the handle of my pistol for some sort of comfort. Without proper lighting and this storm still raging outside, the stories I've heard about this place seem to have some truth to it. Some. If I'm reaching and wish to entertain myself for a bit, I say there might also be ghosts whispering in my ears, calling. Of course, it's just the wind and the trees rustling outside. Nothing good will come of allowing these thoughts to linger when problems are piling up in front of me one after the other, especially with what greets me as I get to the foyer. And this is where we caught up the end of Ash's perspective. Though it's dark, the large windows illuminate the area much more easily than any of the other rooms. And from where I stand at the top of the stairs, I can easily make out their forms, recognize them even. It's all gone crazy when these intruders come into my house. I'm no stranger to a cop playing dirty. The smart ones know that neither life nor criminals are going to play fair, and if one of this wog stort is in on this, I'm not surprised too. But really, the estate agent? She doesn't seem the sort. Yeah, I forgot to mention that Luke Wright might be slightly racist. And just for clarification, Twitch, that I'm reading from a text. Okay? So calm the fuck down.
Well, well, what have we here? If I were any less sober, I'd say this is the beginning of a joke.
Bloody trespassers. What is wrong with these people? Did they really think I'll be fine with them walking into my home like this? What are they even doing in here? If I didn't know any better, then I also be behind this disappearance.
That's right, my love.
They must have a motive.
Make them pay.
It better be a good one.
To us.
Stop whispering into my ear, ghost voice. Or a bullet to the head is the least all of them will deserve.
Let's see. A photographer and a real estate agent walk into a mansion.
Thunder crackles once again, cutting me off. This time it sounds close enough that it nearly feels as if the windows and the ground itself are rumbling. Always deathly still for a moment. I don't want it to stop me, however, as I slowly make my way towards them, taking one careful step at a time, noticing the expression of fear in their eyes. I suppose there's something ominous in this setting, with the heavy rain outside and the lack of light here. I kinda like it, to be honest. Adds something to the atmosphere. I suppose I must what they're doing now. But sort of me getting close to them, and off to my left distracts me, briefly halting my movements while curiosity takes over every murmurs in my head. And it's a good thing, perhaps, that I did, because as soon as I woke up, I see him. Another trespasser. Great. Looks like he's about to jump down from furniture, but has somehow ended up piled and blocking the door to the parlour. What happened there? And did he really think it's alright to do that in other people's house? Wow.
Teach him, my lord. Put him in his place.
My hand's already moving before any rationale can stop me, fingers firm at my gun when I finally release the safety from it and take aim. Not at him, but his friends. They are his, aren't they? Why else would they be here together? Doesn't matter, he won't let the people he cares about be harmed. My fingers on the triggers more than itching to shoot, but I hold back. Sure, I could have simply taken aim at him, but more than seeing him bleed, I want to see the expression on his face once he realizes everything he's doing is futile. He's trapped. Lives are in my hand, his life's in my hand.
Had I known there would be a party in my own home tonight, I would have opened a bloody bottle or two. People these days, in my own home, can you believe it? I feel so left out.
I can tell the exact moment the realization dawned on him. A short second of his body freezing and blood draining from his face as soon as his feet hits the floor and he locks up. He's already a prey trapped by his own recklessness.
Pathetic.
And really, Lily, even you.
And this is where we were at the beginning of the stream.
Sir, this isn't what you're thinking. Something's going on in this mansion.
Well, obviously, why else would people be trespassing in my home? What's your excuse? Checking back if your clients are doing okay? Is that it? Is this what this is? Oh, we're doing good, by the way.
Sir, please.
Oh, please what?
We need to get out of this place. You need to leave.
Tut, not a good enough excuse, darling. You people are the ones who need to get out of my sight.
Don't worry, I always consider pressing lighter charges if it's a woman I have to deal with in court.
Can't say the same for the rest of you. But really now, I swear the people of this city need to be taught the meaning of privacy. This is how you want to start the week. Why don't we just go with a bloody massacre if we want to surprise people in their homes, huh?
It's just a passing remark, of course. I'm not stupid enough to do something that will bring negative attention to myself. Reputation and all that, I just can't risk it. The thought of having dead bodies here, ones that I'm not even responsible for, they're the ones who trespassed. It's already quite too much. I'll literally be overkill, especially for someone like me. Nevertheless, joke or not, Feathers wastes no time drawing his own gun at the slight wave of my own, even if he knows it's already too late. Still he glares at me. Still he fights back.
Now, Feathers. Manners. You're in no position to be pointing that gun at people.
There's no desperation in him like I'm hoping, just an annoyance flickering shortly before being hidden underneath a challenge. The likes of him are the kind of people I hate the most. Even with their fear is already glaring down at them, mocking their every worthless move they make, they have the impotence to stare people in the eye.
Why don't you put yours down first, and then we'll talk about manners.
Oh, he talks back. The gall! You know, your kind pisses me off so much.
Annoying most of the time, like a damn pest you can't be rid of, but to some degree it is commendable. I'll give him that. After all, we're almost the same in that regard. Almost. I'm still the better person, of course. He tells me to put the gun down, but I see no reason why I should. I'm a homeowner, in defense of my own home. I have the right to, I'd like to think. Questionable permit to firearms aside. It's not like I wanted this, but I'm already high-strung and their presence does not help. Bloody peasants. Bloody peasants! Help! Help! I'm being repressed! I can never seem to figure out how their minds fully work. Take this one, for example. Despite the pride bringing him how much he scratches my glove with one of his own, he simply lowers his pistol after a long second. Not in surrender. The tense set in his shoulders tells me as much, but the closer he can get to lowering his own ego in favor of something I can't quite place. Interesting. Though I admit I'm almost disappointed. The voices want some deaths here, it seems. I'm expected to hold until one of us shoots the other. Can't say I'll be more exciting that way. If bullet inside any part of my body isn't something I'd like to have on a bad day like today. Or any day for that matter. But it'll surely be predictable with him. And I like predictable. They're the kinds of people who are the easiest to deal with, no matter the situation. With him, there's no second guessing what they'll do. He shoots, I shoot. One of us dies, the other walks away, nothing complicated. Nothing requiring much brain power, just muscle memory and who's the better shooter. End of story. Yet here he is, dragging a deep breath in and setting aside the only thing protecting him. I can easily shoot him this way, be done with this whole farce of a conversation. Instead, I find myself listening. A concession, for a person who, in another life, would have also become the person I am today, had his circumstances allowed it. Damn shame. We might have gone along.
Listen, right, I need you to...
But alas...
You broke into my house, and somehow, you expect me to listen like a good little boy. Are you a bit touched in the head, Feathers? I'm not the one breaking laws here.
Look here, fucker. If I wanted you dead, I could have done it so many times already. In fact, I can easily shoot you down right here, right now. And you won't be able to do a damn thing, even with that gun.
A meeting of two prideful blokes will never go well, whichever lifetime it is. I can only laugh at his audacity, his lack of shame and fear when facing the business end of my pistol.
You know what I'm thinking right now? In another lifetime, we would have probably gotten along well.
The best truth I can offer him. Not many people, those who have slighted me in particular, with this long to see it. And
You should be grateful. You're already gracious enough, allowing him to stand in your presence like this.
Yes, especially when he has a lot to answer. Preferably right now, because as generous as I have been so far, my patience has its limits. My amusement can only last for so long. In 2 steps, I'm standing in front of him, grabbing him by the collar and resting the cold muzzle of the eagle against his temple.
Hey, now you two, I'm sure we can all talk about this first.
He'll end up a pretty smear on the wall, this close.
What is it that you people really want with me? This is the second time this week, and I'm really getting weary of this little game. Did the NCA send you to apprehend me? Or has somebody paid you off to kill me? Which one is it, Feathers? Mind you, my arm's getting tired. Better answer quick if you don't want to beat the business end of this gun.
And he knows it. Of course he does. Hitman or not, he has been trained, judging purely from his stance, but not many bother to be as cautious as him. One glimpse at my handgun safety area is all it took him to see I mean business. Similar. Too similar. We're all too alike in so many little ways it's funny. Down to fact he doesn't even flinch, no matter how heavy the threats in my words are. Even knowing how one flick of my finger on the trigger will be enough to end his sorry life, he should have caved in by now, started begging like so many others before him. Instead, he throws more vitriol, adds more kindling to a fire already burning.
I'm not with NCA. I'm just here to help. There's something else in this house, and we're all in danger. You have to believe me, right? You need to let us go. You need to get out of here before it's too late. If you want to keep your sorry ass alive, you'll listen to people with more brain cells than you.
Igniting it further, but I can't help but return it to him with equal fervor. We don't need him, my love.
Why, you insolent!
We both decide to move in that moment, both our bodies tensing, each of us racing to get ahead of the other. However, before we can even get a head start, a voice unexpectedly rings above the chaos about to ensue.
Hannah?
And this is where we're up to. This is where Ash's little playthrough ended. Well, his perspective. So now we rejoin from Luke's perspective.
Oh, Luke, darling, my love. What do you think you're doing out here this late?
The woman that stands there is the one I married, the love of my life. So why is it that the look she gives me makes me feel so revolted? Makes it so that there is just a general sense of wrongness in the way she smiles at me?
Hannah! Oh, thank goodness, it's just you. Oh, you gave me quite the fright. We've been looking all over
The
for you.
demon! Saying this makes my tongue feel heavy. I'm so used to lying, to putting on a face, but this just feels so wrong. It's such a small lie, yet a big one at that. To be afraid at the sight of my own wife for no apparent reason is illogical, yet her mere presence has been disturbing. From her suddenly devoted and near dependent nature, her obsession and possessiveness to her strange way of speaking, something has been wrong with Hannah as of late. I didn't want to admit it, but it was almost as if she'd turned to another person overnight. And looking up at her now seems to solidify this. It's almost as if I can't recognize my own wife.
Fetch me. Whatever for, my prince.
Look, that doesn't matter right now. You need to get out of this house right now, all right? Stay in the penthouse for a while.
Leave our home? What if I wish to stay?
It's not safe here, darling. Now is not the time to explain. Just listen to me. Okay, Buttercup?
I hold out my hand to her in the hopes that she won't ask any more questions. I shove away the ill thoughts I have about her, about how this is not the wife I've married. People changed, and now is not the time to have some sort of existential crisis about it. Our safety is priority right now, and I'll feel better about all this as long as I can have her by my side. But she barely budges from her place atop the stairs, let alone take my hand. And the way she looks at me just sends chills down my spine.
Why should I? Is something the matter? What about you? Are you not coming with?
What was I supposed to say? Where do we even start? Maybe just confess that there's some crazy lady roaming around, and I'd really like it if we just stayed safe?
You just need to leave for a while so I can let security sweep the place. And someone has to be there, yes? To supervise and all. That'll be my job, Buttercup.
Still, nothing. She doesn't move from where she stands, still with that amused grin on her face, as if it's all some funny joke and she's the only one who can see the punchline.
But I do not wish to leave. And you should not either. You've just arrived, my prince. This is your home. Our home. Would you really allow others to drive us away from it?
Be that as it may, it is dangerous here right now, and I'd rather have you safe than, oh, I don't know, comfortable or whatever argument you wish to bring up.
We're in the middle of a gunfight.
This is ridiculous, Hana. We shouldn't be discussing this. You need to leave now. Let me handle things here, Buttercup.
It is then that her expression turns absolutely horrific, and everything turns to complete and utter shite. Hannah's body shudders and shakes as if she's about to have a seizure until her visage ripples and changes. Golden yellow hair is slowly stained with inky black, and her face melts into that of the woman, the maid from before, with a menacing expression on her face. Along with it is the shifting of the very ground we stand on. It's a slow thing, a whisper more than a bang as the darkness creeps into every corner of the room. The walls shudder and groan. Blood runs from the ceiling, crawls down the walls and stains the floor. It feels as if life itself is being sucked from the house slowly but surely. The beauty of the place is gone, with only the dead, decaying remains of a mansion left in its wake. I don't have to wonder if it is just the foyer that's become this nightmarish place. I can already hear it. Gone are the growling of thunder and the lashings of rain and wind against the foyer's high windows. All of it has been replaced by a more grating sound. A cacophony of voices from nowhere and everywhere, echoing throughout now horrid walls. Voices that neither belongs to us nor the people who live here.
What's going on?
Help! Please!
All throughout the house, shouts of alarm and surprise ring out, a mirror to the horror creeping up in each of us. Who wouldn't be shocked? This is insane. As the sight of it, Lily trembles, holding herself closer, while Steel and Feathers stand protectively in front of her. Brave of them, I have to admit, to put themselves in the front line like that. But it doesn't necessarily mean they don't feel the same fear as the rest of us. It's something I don't blame them for. There seems to be no end in sight to this insanity. If anything, this only feels like it's the beginning of the end.
Help me! Oh my god! Please, somebody! Anybody! Who are you? Stay away!
No, no, no! Stay away! Stay away!
I'm not afraid of you, you spook! This is one Scotswoman. You aren't getting into an early grave without a fight!
Isn't that Rebecca's voice?
Mother of God, pray for us sinners.
Their screams filled the mansion. That was definitely something that Rebecca said before she died. She laughs all the while, a harsh, agonizing sound that goes on for what feels like forever. Until there is nothing but silence, a horrid smile, and pale hands reaching out to me. Oh no, things have got worse. This could get bad. Calling, beckoning, pleading. I'm terrified. I really am, like I should be, but I've never been one to truly stay afraid. I've long learned that fear will not get me anywhere. Cowering in a corner doesn't keep me safe and it will not keep me alive. Not like rage does. I've learned to use this burning hate inside of me to survive. There is no difference now.
Stay away from me!
Why do you wish to leave? This is where you belong, my lord. Remember the blood we share? This is your home. Don't you remember? You promised to return, to stay, together with me, with us, with people no different from you.
Don't listen to her, she lies. I promised no such thing to anyone. We bought this house weeks ago. How should I know what she's babbling about? I never even wanted to be here in the first place.
A terrible case of mistaken identity. That must be it. I'm quite sure of it. I don't know this woman, this monster. Why would I say that to someone like her? In my entire lifetime, I've only made and kept sincere promises to a mere two people. Hannah Avens and Eleanor Chandler. No one else. The rest of those who claim I've promised anything to them can go fuck themselves. Bloody hell, I may enjoy the company of women, but I'm not an idiot to start spouting such nonsense to anyone. A line must be drawn, especially if I am to keep myself alive. Yet she still goes on, insists, making me appear alive in front of these people.
Of course you still deny it. Have you truly forgotten? You haven't changed, I see. Still a deceiver.
She's lying!
You see, my love, nothing has changed. Still no difference, you and I. Just like the rest of us. Just like every single soul in this putrid wreck. We've waited for so long. You can hear them, yes? Their pleas, their calls, their invitation. Come, my lord. The house seeks its master.
She, the monster, reaches out again. Her hands are gory, abhorrent sight, along with that smile spread across her face. My body's already moving on instinct, stumbling back one step at a time in a desperate bid to be away from her. Anything to put distance between me and this vile creature. No matter what she says, I am nothing like her. I need to get out of this house. Or out of this country, preferably. There's nothing for me here, no anymore. Nothing to keep tied to this place. With Hannah beyond saving, no longer the same woman I knew, and Shotgun might be taken by this woman, nothing's left to bind me to this wretched city. I can leave. My foot steps on something, sending me sliding on my back and flat to the floor. Besides me, a paper, a familiar one, flutters down. It's this thing again from the open house, but it feels like a gimmick and more like a threat, what with recent events. It must have fallen from one of these peasants in the commotion area. For a moment they appeared conflicted to see it in my hands, but wisely keeps their opinions to themselves. Leaving the damn thing to simply bear its grisly message for everyone in the room to see. Help me, help me, help me. Is this it? What they've been telling us? Why everything in my life has gone to shite because of some stupid old letter? An invitation indeed, one I am not willing to accept. At any time. From the top of the stairs, the creature moves again, drawing my attention back to her. Her gait remains slow and awkward as she walks forward, that smile never leaving her. But I won't give her the chance. I am not dying here. I am certainly not giving myself to a hideous creature like her either. Adrenaline kicks in and beside the panic gasps and worried glances from the other people here. I pay them no mind as I reach for the main door and, without warning, it slams open, revealing not the mansion grounds like I am expecting. Before my mind can even comprehend what's happening, black tendrils have already coiled tightly around my limbs, dragging every person into the foyer into the room. None of us even get to scream when darkness completely envelops us upon the doors closing.
Understand where your place is now, my love.
So we got alone in the dark, did we?
You belong here. Is it so difficult to grasp? We've been waiting.
There's a moment of panic when the feeling of the tendrils around my limbs finally dissipates. As soon as my eyes adjust to the mirrors of the room and I'm on my feet, I'm reaching for my knife and holding it out, watching, waiting for every movement. Using it as a way to put distance between me and these peasants. Who knows what they'll do now? We're all desperate to get out of this house. There's only 4 of us in this room, 3 of them, friends at that. I cannot trust these people not to turn on me. I cannot trust anyone. Not anymore. Not after this. Despite the pleading looks Willie shoots my way while they all huddle in the corner behind steel and feathers. But I have to remind myself that even people like her are capable of doing the unpleasant. She's only human after all. It's never an excuse. Why even Hannah has her cunning manipulative moments, but she does much more subtler than I. Why else would Willie show this letter to us that day if not to save herself? I guess that backfired on her now that she and her own friends are also stuck here. Still, I have every right to be livid. Everything I have built has fallen apart. All because these people came into our lives.
You! All of you! This is all your fault! If I've died to this bloody case, I'm taking you all down with me!
Hey now, Mr. Wright. I know the situation ain't good, but we have to calm down. We're all in the same boat here.
You shut your mouth! If it weren't for you, for this letter, for all of you, none of this would have happened! Hannah would still be...
Suddenly, Steele steps up and slaps the knife away from my hand.
I think that's enough, Mr. Wright. Playing the blame game won't do us any good.
Without batting an eye, glaring at me as if he might just rip my head off in this instant, said knife slides uselessly under the table, out of my reach. I should have expected he's not the kind to submit even under threat. Right now, all of us appear smaller, facing his disapproval. He thinks he can intimidate me.
And what about your friend over there? Are you saying she is responsible for this mess? For the lives this sorting letter took? Dragging other people into her own problems just so she could save her little sorry self? You think I haven't seen that before? Don't defend her just because she's your friend. She has a lot of things to answer for.
I still think this curse is an entirely different issue, sir.
You dare tell me?
Please stop! All of you stop this!
To hear Willie speak out loud, I can't say I'm not surprised. She has always given me the impression of someone so meek from the moment I've met her, either from her inexperience or her station in life. She has never struck me as someone fitting to be a real estate agent. If anything, that meltdown she had during the open house has only proven my assumptions. Until now. Quietly she puts herself between me and her friends, cutting whatever scathing words would get to her at the other. The way she glares at me, it reminds me a little of the way my own mum would look at me. Particularly when I've done something wrong, and it's not a stir she's unused to showing. She has done this before, probably to a younger sibling. Huh. If she only sees us now as a pair of squabbling kids and not two mature adults, well, that's only to be expected. No doubt that's how she sees us. For a long moment, there's only silence in the room. Steele, the big oaf, doesn't even dare break it. Neither does Feathers. We're both merely watching us. A bunch of wimps, these men. Not that it matters when Willie starts speaking again, after some of the anger and tension has lifted from the room.
Stop this, please! With or without that damn piece of paper, we...
A deep breath, an exhale, and then she closes her eyes, a crease forming between her eyebrows while she grips her hand tightly in front of her.
We still would have ended up in this mess.
The atmosphere that descends into the room right after that, the admission is anything but pleasant. Can I call it that? An admission? It seems like it from the way her eyes nervously flick between her friends and I. She appears to know more than she lets on, and how she makes herself appear smaller after dropping that bomb on us doesn't sit quite well with me. And patience is something I don't have the luxury of having right now and bestowing upon other people. What else does this girl know? What else is she not telling us? Because on the looks of this, even her friends have no idea what she's talking about. Unwilling to wait, I grab her arm before she retreats without explanation, waving the letter still in my hand in front of her.
Ow! Sir, you're hurting me!
Hey, hands off her, right?
Fuck off, Feathers. I have questions for your friend, and she better have the answers.
Then stop taking it out on every single person.
Your friend is hiding something!
She struggles for a moment, but my hold eventually forces her to look up at me. Fear and uncertainty spreads across her features, especially when her eyes went on the damned paper. As much as I want to be considerate right now, I want answers.
What do you mean, Lily?
I'm not sure about it.
Don't give me that. You know something.
Ow! Please, sir. I know the paper's useless, okay? Those people they mentioned in the news lately, all those who died, my co-workers, the open house clients, none of them had seen it. Even Rose. And yet they're all dead. I should know, sir. That letter has been with me since I picked it up. And I swear I didn't make copies of this thing. Even if I wanted to save myself, I wouldn't do that to my friends. Or anyone.
Is that what the trip to BRC was for?
Yes, I'm sorry. I couldn't tell you guys until I was certain. None of you believed me the first time. I had to find proof.
And yet we're all here. Are you taking me for a fool, Lily?
We would have ended up here either way. Maybe? I really don't know. Sir, please. All I know is that paper isn't the reason why all of this is happening. There's something else that...
This place.
Steele has been quiet this entire time, but the sound of him talking, however whispered it is, still manages to catch us all off guard. We all pause, turn to him with, likely, the same questions in our eyes.
What?
I just remembered something a friend told me. You know, stuff about ghosts or curses. You probably don't want to hear it.
No, it might be something. What about this place, Zach?
There's still a moment where he hesitates, but Lily's urging eventually spurs him into speaking.
Remember what I told you the last time you and Ash visited? A few days ago?
You mean what Andrew told you? Those were just stories, Zach. It might not even help.
Regardless, Steele pauses while he allows Lily to remember. Soon enough, whatever it is dawns on her and her face lights up with something like... hope? Of all things, in this nightmare, hope? Her head snaps up and she reaches out to Steele's arm to give it a squeeze. A reassurance or a confirmation? The meaning is lost even to Feathers, who glances at them, baffled.
Isabella, what are you...
Ash, it's this place.
What? You mean we burned this place down?
What? No! We are not burning a multi-million-pound mansion, you peasants! I just spent a fortune on this!
It's not only that. Think about it.
Then they proceed to tell some ridiculous narrative about the supernatural. Stories about ghosts, legends, curses brought out of great anger and pain, and whatever else people use to scare children. Not that I believe any of it, as if knowing will help. Bunch of loons, these people, officially off the rockers. To think I'll be stuck in this nightmare with people like them. Whatever did I do the world? Of course, it's all absurd until...
I think it's just like what the professor guy said. Just like that old story. This mansion might be keeping her here. Unless we do something about this place, I don't think she'll leave.
Bloody fucking hell! Not only do I have trespassers on my property, but they're also arsonists!
How dare they suggest something like that? Bloody peasants! My head's already aching just listening to them. To think this is all the solution they can come up with? I should have just stabbed all of them and made a run for it. It doesn't help that with every second we spend talking here, the crazier this whole place gets. The voices have become louder and somehow sounding more vicious. If the things in this room start floating, mark my own words, I will fucking flip out. And they may not be thinking of it right now, but eventually they'll turn on me. Such is the nature of humans. Better find a way out of this place as soon as possible if I want to stay alive. Fuck, I still have so much to do. Our only choice isn't it seems to sound, but who knows? We don't understand the shite about this place. Might as well try everything, yeah? Whatever works. If I also have to be the one that makes that bloody decision, so be it. Less room for errors with the only sane one doing the thinking. Off the off chance I'm wrong, well, they suggested it. I am going to regret this, I will. But with these cries growing louder, this has become the easiest decision I have ever made. I'm getting tired of hearing her sobbing, really. It's just irritating. Isn't you getting tired of it? Besides, someone has to act fast, think fast. And what else is the root cause of our problems with this place where the weather was found? I need to make things more complicated. Started here, why won't it end here? If what Lilia said is true, then there's all the more reason to destroy it. Put an end to this madness before someone thinks of putting this blasted place up in the market. When I get out of this place, I swear I'm suing a bunch of people. Run that estate company to the ground if need be. We spent millions, damn it. Millions! With a sigh and perhaps a heavy heart, I open one of the drawers in my study table, taking a bottle of liquor out for myself and passing it on to every occupant in the room. They accept it, but not without a look of protest or a confused glance my way. It just shut all of them up. So maybe I've done something good. Even more when I pop the cork off the bottle and pour its contents on the floor.
Well, what are you simpletons waiting for?
We waste no time dousing the whole room, the smell of alcohol filling the air. If I didn't know any better, I'd say they're more than eager to set this whole place on fire. And the blaze catches easily in this room when I say the light, using the blasted paper as kindling. With the whole place drenched with wine and all manner of things alcoholic have been hiding from Anna, the small fire soon turns into an inferno. In a matter of seconds, we're out the door. It doesn't exactly lead to where I'm hoping it will, although ending up in the kitchen just gives us more reason to play like a bunch of frail maniacs. Fishing the liquor stock sound from the cupboards, we also do the same thing we've done to the study. Door after door, in every room we pass, pouring bottle after bottle of expensive aged liquor and setting everything on fire, only leaving once the blaze has started in earnest. When we run out of liquor, we simply drop the bottle and take one from the many nooks I've stashed one. And there's no lack of it in here, the hard stuff, the shorts, the watered down kind, gifts from a distant relatives, so-called friends. You name it, I've made sure there's always one within reach.
How many of these things do you keep in this house?
I always have a few bottles in the bedroom, you know, the parlor and the dining room.
You have problems, man.
Well, isn't this the time to discuss them?
Hannah had called me out on this numerous times before, telling me of the same thing. I've always told her she doesn't know half of it before completely dismissing her concerns. Worry warp, that woman. Turns out it'll be useful now. Not to drown out my sorrows, but for this. Wonder of wonders, for I suppose I can now say it has also saved my life. But there's no time for some introspection now, because with each room we pass and burn, the place also becomes easier to navigate. Yeah, I believe he is, but I believe his concern is no longer important anymore. So I guess he'll burn alive too. I guess Hannah will burn alive. The mansion will be burned, but the thing is, my experience of this kind of thing occurs. Burning the mansion down doesn't always solve the problem. Like in The Grudge, it was burnt down once, but it just got rebuilt. If it's that powerful enough, it will simply rebuild itself immediately and continue. Turn to what it's supposed to be. But maybe it will work this time. Soon we finally find ourselves standing before the main door. The strong odour of burning wood, cloth and varnish alike wafts from under the doors of the rooms we've previously torched, slowly filling the whole with a thick black smoke. The blaze has also started in earnest in every part of the house. I can already feel the heat seeping from the rooms I've set aflame. In a matter of minutes, flames will engulf the whole house. But anyway, that is when she appears again before us, watching us from the top of the stairs while her world goes up in flames around her. However, what catches my eyes is the expression on her face. Not the vile smile I've grown accustomed to, or the one where her eyes gleam with complete hatred. This one? Forlorn is the only word I can think of to describe it.
No, please. Help me.
Nope, it's burning time.
Help me, please.
Can the dead still feel? Can she hear us? Or is that merely another one of her tricks to trap us in this nightmare? Like this, however, she seems almost like the woman she used to be. I have to remind myself she's no longer Hannah. The woman I loved is gone, and who stands before me is nothing but a pale imitation of who she used to be. I don't waste any time pondering over it. Not with the exit just a few steps away. The door's finally open, and through it I can glimpse the world outside. Safety. However, I do turn, if only to see the last of her. A farewell more than anything. For all her attempts to lure me, draw me in, her wishes to be with me, she does not stop me when I finally run from this horrid place. Quietly, she disappears. Watching a multi-million-pound house burn before me, for some reason nothing about this bothers me. Maybe it's that one last look on her face that has changed it. Maybe it's what I've seen and heard inside. There's only a calm, a stillness. The same hush that comes after a terrible storm has swept the countryside. And with it is the sight of the sun rising above the horizon. Ever so slowly the sky begins to lighten before my eyes, darkness giving way to the warm, warming hues, soft rays spilling over the vast expanse of Luxbourne's countryside. Nearby the trees sway and rustle with the breeze. Passing draft that carries even into this room from outside, cold enough to make me shiver, the remains of a storm that has passed. In the distance I can hear the soft chirping of birds while the rest of the world stirs, wakes. Dawn at last. We are free. We did it. We burned the house down. Oh. And that is actually literally it. Epilogue. Wow. It's over. The house was burned. Like the flames that engulfed the mansion that night, whispers quickly spread across Luxbourne City after the incident. Officers who investigated it have simply deemed it an unfortunate accident, resulting in the deaths of innocent lives. Regardless of the truth, Luke Wright files criminal charges against Briar Realty Corporation after, for undisclosed reasons to the public, forcing the latter to declare bankruptcy. They were already on the verge of it, to be honest, a move that has merely stoked the rumours further. But for those who still believe in the stories of the old and those who knew the truth, it was but a testament to the curse and secrets the Ermengarde mansion has hidden for centuries. Yet there will come a time when those will finally be revealed, only the ashes of the now ruined mansion know. However, on nights when the wind howls and thunder booms across the sky, some still claim hearing of voices where it once stood. Cries and wails that fill the nights and desperate calls of help to anyone who dares listen. As for those who once tread its halls. Although Luke Wright has won his legal battle with Briar Realty Corporation, another tech leak places him and Wright Enterprise under the spotlight months later. This time, however, with the then Chief Inspector Harvey Reese in absence, the businessman isn't able to escape close scrutiny. I'll just ignore that. In an investigation headed by LPD's Detective Inspector Ashton Frey, all of Wright Enterprise's illegal business dealings within the past 10 years will come to light. Although his involvement with other crimes is still being investigated, the disclosure has caused a huge outcry, especially from the city's business sector. Sued on multiple grounds, the company is ultimately forced to shut down. Also, his butler died. His wife died. Meanwhile, to avoid public outrage, the once affluent businessman immediately leaves the city. All of his bank accounts have been emptied, including his Luxbourne apartments, leaving not a single trace or clue where he might be hiding. The last anyone has seen of the man was on a flight bound for Ireland. Till this day, no one has heard from him, even his people from the old Wright Enterprise who have all been left to deal with the aftermath. Though, over the past few months after the situation has calmed, some have made claims of spotting him flitting in and out of the city, if only to check on those he has left behind. With help from family and friends, Zachary Steele is soon able to open a photography studio of his own, something he has only dreamed of having as a child. Although he still hopes to get back to making indie films someday, client work and small projects have kept him mostly busy. Hectic as it may be, he can only be glad for the amount of work pouring in. It has made moving on from the incident in Ermengarde Mansion easier, if not faster. Even with his success, he still hasn't forgotten what he has lost during that time. But while there are still nightmares, with support from his family, his doctor, and his own drive, the dark images have finally turned into pleasant dreams. He's aware he won't ever truly forget, but he's no longer running away. At times, when he's not busy or after a hard day's work, he thinks there's another story for the big screen to be told in that. An idea he may soon turn into a reality once his time affords it. With her newfound courage, Isabella Santos finally chooses to pursue what she really wants for herself. Having made enough to keep her family afloat for a few years, and with their blessing, she quits her job at BRC and takes the scholarship offer from the local uni. While remarkably out of practice and unsure if she'll be able to keep up by the time she returns to university, she finds her feet soon enough with help from people close to her. And with her confidence in her girls growing, so do the number of people recognizing her and her work. It doesn't take long for several award-giving bodies to take notice of her. For all her accomplishment, however, she has never truly forgotten what happened at the Ermengarde Mansion, nor what she has lost. The images still remain in her, and on a particularly unpleasant night, terrors continue to visit her dreams. She knows thoughts won't ever disappear from her life. It has become a part of her in the same way death was permanently taken from her. However, she's no longer afraid, and with a brave face she carries on, earnestly wishing that someday she'll be able to paint brighter, more vivid thoughts on her canvas. An honest portrayal of life and hope amidst the fear. More than a year later, once everything in their respective lives have settled, Zachary, Steele, and Isabella finally hold their first exhibit together. A project that has been in the making for almost 2 years after the photographer casually boyed up to the other artist. While initially intended as a small event, it has been surprisingly attended by several members of Luxbourne's upper class and art enthusiasts. Although only a few of the pieces have been meant for sale, the show has brought prominence to Zachary and Isabella's name in the city's art scene. It has since been followed by several other exhibits by the two, both in and out of the city. Currently, they are planning to hold their first show overseas. Yet, even with this unexpected, overwhelming fame, friendship between the two has remained strong. Theirs, after all, is a bond that goes beyond being mere partners in a small project. He's her family, as much as she is his. Following his success in bringing the Luxbourne firm case to a close, Ashton Frey becomes an elite Counter-Strike player. Sorry. Ashton Frey received, that's just what popped into my head for some reason. This image receives a recommendation for transfer to Luxbourne Lead Agency Against Organised Crimes, an endorsement eagerly backed by the newly appointed successor to the late Chief Inspector Lee, Abigail Harris. Knowing he'll have more resources, leeway, and a bigger chance at ultimately bringing Weeklike to justice, Ashton Frey accepts. He still warns the people close to him against fighting his associates, but only a friendly reminder now more than anything. Though he does worry, he believes they are wise enough to know what they are doing and trust their judgment. For now, he has decided to leave the evidence in the wall to speak for itself and take care of the man once the proper time comes. Nowadays, police work and operations keep him busy, sometimes taking him away from the city he grew up in for days on end. A rare thing for him to enjoy once upon a time. Yet this time, he never loses his drive, simply growing more determined after finally finding a clear purpose close to the rush and excitement he dreamed of as a child. Although Ashton still keeps mum about specific details of his work, his experience with the curse has slowly taught him how to open up, especially to those who he knows generally care for him. He still has a long way to go, he knows that, but for the sake of the people who are still with him, those who have chosen to stay, as well as what he lost, he hopes that there will come a day when he no longer has to hide behind his own lies. A day when he is no longer afraid of facing the truth in his own words. On his days off, Ashton is usually seen loitering around Zachary Steele's studio, either to help him out on one of his pet projects or exasperating the other man on purpose. Either or, it's most of the latter. At certain times, he'll volunteer to model for one of Zach's projects, in spite of the photographer's reassurances that it's not needed. Regardless, Ashton insists, before complaining how meticulous the whole process is hours later, to Zach's utter amusement. Though sometimes they may get into small, trivial arguments, things have stayed cordial between the two. If anything, the ordeal they've both gone through has heavily strengthened the friendship the detective didn't expect to find in anyone. Between the lingering trauma and their measly attempts at normalcy, it takes a few months for the awkwardness to finally lift for both Ashton Frey and Isabella Santos. Of several weeks trying to find their voice and remembering how to act around each other despite enduring infections. But once the unease fades, there's only their usual banter and rapport to fall back on, the casual talk and the family jibes. And for the both of them, it's easy, like breathing, like coming home after another journey, a comfort in spite of the things they have gone through. Their days may still be filled with petty arguments and light teasing, but in the aftermath, when all has been said and done, something constant has already been forced between them. For them, a quiet, steadfast thing they can both hold on to as they both carry on. And I guess that's that. And we never found out who the fuck this was. So, yeah, that is... that was the weather. Wait a minute. I recognize that name. He does a YouTube channel, Gianni Matrinago. He does some of those meme videos. You know, like the Duke Nukem stuff. He's like a pretty good voice actor. He does meme videos on YouTube. Holy crap. No, seriously, I have no idea who this is supposed to be. Maybe it's supposed to be the original girl with the black hair or something? But we have a lot of answers I will not get, I guess. I mean, this game does have multiple endings, keep in mind, so obviously if we want to see everything, we, yeah, there's one thing that needs to be improved is the consistency of the audio quality. There was definitely multiple times throughout the story where you could tell that different voices were recorded in different days. Nothing that really broke the immersion, mind. Nice that they did their own original soundtrack to this game, by the way. Not quite as good as In Sound Minds recently, but it was okay. It did its job. I wonder if there'll be anything at the end of this afterwards. Goodbye, 18,000? Huh. Oh, of course. Gothic. Thanks everyone for playing. Hope you enjoyed the game. It's been fun being part of the production. I really appreciate the team's effort to go pick what we suggested. Hope to see you somewhere again. I am the master of stealth. Hannah X Isabella, please. No Luke X Isabella, no bye. So these were the people behind it. Yang Yang, TO22, Duelist. Okay. Oh. There's a bit extra, I guess.
Tio? Where are you, Tio?
Oh, fuck. Don't tell me she's in the fucking house.
Tio.
Oh, wait. She wasn't. She was at home, wasn't she?
She's here!
Who?
She's still here, Tio!
Oh.
Help me! Please!
Oh, God. Oh, God. What? Shattered fairy tale. Wow. Well, that's a fucking buzzkill at the end there. She fucking broke her neck. There's another one? We got 2 achievements at the end there. I'm gonna check what they both were, actually. Shattered fairy tale and the real letter. There's another one. Yeah, I've got 53 out of 172 achievements. That probably gives you an idea of all the paths we could have taken, I guess. Dear you, if you're reading this, that means you finished playing the game in one way or another, and we thank you for the time you spent playing the letter. This game is our passion project more than anything, and we sincerely hope we delivered in bringing you one-of-a-kind visual novel experience. That you did. The letter is the first of many visual novels coming from us. If you like what we did with this game and would like to support us, please take some time to click on the button. Yeah, there are 2 other... Assuming this was the first game, they actually did make 2 other games, as I've previously said. Unfortunately, they are a romantic visual novel and a Yuri romantic visual novel. So I will not be playing either of them. Now, with that in mind... Well... Oh, right. That's not what I'm after. Achievements 30%, credits, trailer, art book, music room. Got a gallery of stuff. Wow, we've unlocked a lot of item sprites, background, CGs. Oh my god, look at these pictures. Whoa, look at that. Blah! Scary! I have to admit, some of these are kind of creepy, but I also seem to seem a bit goofy for some reason. You know, it's the kind of thing you'd see like a jump scare for a brief moment, but they are well drawn, to be fair. Guess we'll never find out who she was, huh? Item sprites. Okay, so the thing I want to know is, I suppose, is the branching tree. So I want to check the one thing we weren't able to before. Fucking hell, is that the picture I have to view for this? Jeez. That's nearly not the picture I wanted to see when I was checking the branching tree game. Fucking hell. Okay, warning. This feature shows the outline of a... Yes, yes, yes. Let's take a look at the tree since we've finished the game. Oh my. What the fuck? Common root? Holy shit. What the fuck? I didn't think it'd be this long. Oh my god. Well, there were quite a few choices. Remember all those split options. Holy shit. I mean, some of the... Oh my... Okay, this is quite simple-ish. There's alternate routes and shit that lead to the next character, but jeez. I mean, Isabella's is simple. Hannah's is simple. Zachary's is simple-ish. The length excluded, of course. Mary Ann's is quite simple. Rebecca's is very fucking long. Oh my god. Common route. Common route. Wow. What the fuck? And then it just gets longer, and oh my god, we get to Ashton's. Wow, look at that. There's so much stuff that we missed. And 7% for Luke as the final character. Oh my god, this is insane. This is absolutely insane. I knew there was going to be quite a lot of different routes, but fuck me, the length of these. Holy moly, this is the scariest part of the game yet, discovering how many other paths there were. Damn. So much depth if I want to go into the other options. Well, that's for me to decide on my own time, I guess. Anyway. Guess we'll never figure out... And this room wasn't even in the game. But I saw. It probably is somewhere else. Right, well, good news for all those who are getting tired of the visual novel stuff. The letter is finished. I am not pursuing any more endings on stream. Apparently this game takes about 50 plus hours if you go for the completionist route, and it's taken me 24 hours to get one ending. So, my overall thoughts on the letter is this was a pretty decent story, I think. I really liked the kind of angle they went for. Supernatural horror blending in with people ignoring it for long periods of time, trying to explain it with some different characters, you know. A different sort of approach to horror, and, you know, aside from some questionable voice consistency in terms of, like, the recording, a few spelling mistakes and grammar errors at some point, and, you know, really weird shoving in 20 minutes of romance dialogue in the middle of a horror bit last time, which I thought was a bit weird. This is a pretty good story. You know, I was hooked, I was immersed, I was interested in the mystery. I thought the characters were interesting and diverse, and it was a good journey. You know, I got my 24 hours worth. So, but not really that scary though, not for me anyway. I mean, it had some spooky-ish moments, but yeah, it takes a bit more to scare me these days. I've seen quite a bit. But this was good. You could definitely tell they put a lot of effort into this, and it shows. Good job. I really like the animated backgrounds, by the way, the little visual things. That really added to the experience, actually. Instead of having flat backgrounds with no animations or stuff like that, it was kind of nice to see like animated little things, lens flares, wind blowing, repeated sort of sense of movement. I really like that. You know, I've played better visual novels in terms of the stories, despite Chunsoft games are really experts in how to craft and master an excellent story of murder and intrigue. But this was pretty good too, in a different kind of way. In an almost slice of life meets supernatural horror type way. I liked it. It was good. It was fun. Hopefully the few of you that stuck around to watch any one of these 8 parts enjoyed some of it too. So, the letter is done. No more visual novel stuff. unless they're under 10 hours. That's the agreement. But I'm not going to be looking out for visual novels to play. I don't mind doing them, but this is probably something I'd pursue off stream, to be honest. I've got plenty of more action-packed games I want to get on with. So, the next... Well, I suppose now I should take a look at what my next game's going to be. I'm really in a corner on that, to be honest. You know, what with not having many games to be able to actually play at this point, particularly. Yeah, I can't play any of these games right now. So, the next, yeah, there wasn't much gameplay, I'll admit, but it was okay. There was a few quick time events. Maybe there's some harder ones on harder settings or stuff. We'll have to see, I guess. But, I can't play any of Drauken's requests because 2 of the games aren't fully released yet. And in terms of the Saints Row playthrough, I have to wait until Saints Row 2 receives this patch, apparently. Because apparently Saints Row 2 on the PC is a piece of shit otherwise. But if it doesn't ever get made, I may have no choice but to play Saints Row 2 on the PC as is, and then I can get on with the others. But I'll wait for that for a bit. Doesn't help the fact that the person who was making this supposed miracle patch died recently, and the future of said community patch is under question. 20 to 33 hours. Well, it took me about 24, I think. So, really, the only other games I can actually kind of play at this point are, well, the ones that aren't gifted by Drauken. Now, in terms of Sing Gold, I have to wait until, the remaster comes out. Apparently there's a remaster of Sin coming out, so I've been told to wait for the remaster before playing that one, even though I have Sin available to me. So it's a toss-up really between Dragon Quest Heroes 2 and Final Fantasy 9 for the time being. And so the next other game I'm going to be playing from my other game list is going to be Dragon Quest Heroes 2. That will be the next game I'm going to play. But that will probably be in the new year. I'll probably start that in January at some point. Because for the rest of the month, I've got some FPS business to take care of. I might start Dragon Quest Heroes 2 later this month. I'll see how I do in terms of time. But I do have quite a few things to get on with. What with Mutt's punishment streams, of his maps, the H2H Xmas playthrough, which, by the way, also is an Iron Man. Shot Blast made H2H Xmas and Iron Man for the month, so I can double down. And a possible playtest session, which I may or may not have been kind of overdue. But Dragon Quest Heroes 2 will be the next other game I play. For sure. Without a doubt. And that will either be at some point later this month, or it will be next year in January. So I'm getting there, you know. I've only got 9 games left on my other game list to play. We're getting there. We're getting there. He thinks. Right, it's nearly 10 o'clock. I'm trying to decide what to do. I think I'll give poker a break for tonight. I was tempted to play some poker online maybe, but I've decided I'm going to give it a rest for tonight. I'm going to be playing some tomorrow. Maybe I'll do some over the weekend or something. I'll give it a break for tonight, I think. So, yeah, thank you all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the letter playthrough. Thanks to Drauken for gifting me the letter. And I will catch you all next time for Dragon Quest Heroes 2 on the other game front. But otherwise, next up, I'm going to be playing some Doom. The Mutt punishment maps will be up next, and they'll be starting this weekend. So stay safe, everybody, and have a good evening.